Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic stream for yet another day here and more preseason action. So what's better than a Saturday filled with football? I know in a couple of weeks it'll be a lot of college football at this time, but football is football, whether we're talking NFL, college football, obviously different types of hypes, but I'm excited to be talking about football today. And I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in for this live stream here as we get ready for the Bears to play the Buffalo Bills here. And so the storyline here, obviously, with this being week 2 of the preseason, this presents a great opportunity for both teams to get a good, solid look of each other in terms of just where we at right now. Obviously, this is very important for guys that are trying to make the roster, teams that are competing. But yeah, for the Bears, you get to see more of, I assume, more of Andy Dalton along with Justin Fields. More evaluations there. And then when you're talking about Buffalo, you won't see. I'd imagine we wouldn't see Josh Allen there, but it's a really good opportunity for them to see Mitchell Trubisky, who's going to be the backup quarterback, what he's got, as well as Jake Fromm later on in the game, and what they have there. Let's see, King. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here, first in the chat section today to get things started. So really glad about that. Give me 1 second here. All right, perfect. But yeah, glad to have you here. Yeah, it's football. It's Saturday, so the weekend has arrived, and we have a full slate of football. So I am doing good. What's good with you, King? Tell me how things are going for you today. All right, so for the Buffalo Bills in this one, this is really going to be about Mitchell Trubisky today, honestly. I mean, obviously he's going up against a team that drafted him, that, put their faith in him, and then like that, snatched the rug from up under him. And so for the Bills, it's going to be really just about for their fans to see what Mitchell Trubisky brings in terms of being a backup and then going against his former team. The Bears, they're going to be going out there trying to show him, like, look, you suck. That's why we got rid of you. And he wants to show them, like, look, I wasn't the problem. Better team, better weapons. He's just in a better situation. I heard Mitchell Trubisky say himself, he just feels good to be in a place that he's wanted. And for a lot of players, like sometimes when you realize the crowd doesn't have your back anymore, they turned on you and stuff like that. It can affect your confidence in how you go out there and play. I mean, regardless, he did lead the Bears to the playoffs last year, or at least played a role, I should say, in that. But yeah, excited for him there. But the Bills overall in the regular season, Buffalo is going to be one of the toughest teams in the AFC. They're definitely going to be, in terms of pure talent, definitely top 3 in the AFC for sure. No doubt. They have a strong case for being number 2, I feel. But that all depends on being healthy and a couple things going in the part. And you think about Josh Allen, we know his style. He's more of a tremendous passer. I mean, he showed that last year. So the kind of leap that he had last year, the question is, can he replicate that? Because it was just so good last year. I don't think that he'll regress or anything like that, but to get those exact numbers, he's going to have to stay healthy. Stephon Diggs is going to have to stay healthy. The offensive line is going to have to protect. And then you always wonder about these quarterbacks that's kind of like big-bodied like he is, that doesn't mind lowering his shoulder and stuff like that, the amount of hits that they take throughout the course of the season and stuff like that. So it's little things like that, but nonetheless, he is still a very, very good quarterback, and Buffalo paid him rightfully so because he deserved every penny of that, of what he got paid. So Buffalo, they're in good hands this year, and they should be very excited for their team. No doubt about that. Let's see. I skipped one, but I'll get back to it. But yeah, so for the Seattle Seahawks, I'm always excited to see the duo that they've got at wide receiver and the offensive side of the ball. Keeping Russ, upright. That's going to be important. But they got to be able to do this consistently throughout the season. We saw last year, it felt like they got kind of cold towards the end, and we definitely don't want to see that happen again because Seattle's such a tremendous team. Overall, they're in a tough division, so consistency throughout from start to finish of the season is going to be very important as we get ready for the kickoff here of the game. Let's see. So King says he's doing pretty good. That's great. Glad to hear it. There's nothing like football on a Saturday. And the Bills are going to kick things off here. Let's see if the Bears are going to return. Nope, they're going to let it go into the end zone. And so, yeah, the Bears will be bringing the ball out to start this game. and I'm excited for today. Today's going to be a great day for a lot of preseason action today. And with it being week 2, that means we'll get to see as many of the starters that they are going to put out there for a little bit of an extended time. So it's really a dress rehearsal for both teams. And what's better than two hard-nosed football teams like the Bills and the Bears? They picked an excellent 1 o'clock game for today. Hey, appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. I believe this is the second time I've used this background because this is the second time I've streamed the Bears preseason game in which they've been at home, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that first pass there by Andy Dalton is incomplete. And I really want to see Andy Dalton in this game and just how he's going to do against the starting quarterback. I know everybody wants to see Justin Fields. Heck, I want to see Justin Fields. Me being an Ohio State guy, I really want to see him. And by the way, Ohio State did name their starting quarterback for next year. If you guys haven't heard it, it's going to be C.J. Stroud. He's going to be a starting quarterback for next year. He did get in a couple games last year behind Justin Fields. I believe Rutgers, Michigan State, I think Minnesota was the third team, but I know the first two for sure. But he did get in for 3. And up, good catch right there. Let me fix that. There we go. Good catch right there, King. Appreciate that. But yeah, let's see. And yeah, for the Washington football team, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was talking about the Cowboys, and I was talking about the Washington football team. And I was saying, Washington has in terms of if I matched them up against some of the top tier teams and I matched the Cowboys up against some of the top tier teams, I'm like, I like Washington because I like their defense. I can trust their defense. Their defense can get after a quarterback. And here we've got 3rd and 5. Andy Dalton drops back, and the pressure's there. Dalton just has to throw one up incomplete. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the Andy Dalton that we have seen over the last couple of years. But definitely we want to see Andy. I personally want to see Andy Dalton get some extended reps because I need to know for a fact that, he can go out there, and if he's going to be a game manager, they still need to move the ball. They can't have him go out there, go 3 and out or something like that, or get 1 first down and be done. He has to actually bring something to the table. So that's what I want to see. Let's see. So for the Chargers, the Chargers, they're definitely, in my opinion, going to probably the most underrated team. But I love what they did. They brought over that center from the Green Bay Packers, and he was a tremendous center. And then they went ahead and drafted that Slater from Northwestern as well. So they secured the offensive line to protect their assets, their young QB back there in the pocket. And that I feel like that's going to pay off for them this upcoming year because now with all the protection up front, being even better, and obviously the weapons that he's got, Keenan Allen. I absolutely love Keenan Allen. Like, this guy is a baller. I feel like he's probably the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL in my book because when this man goes off, there's no stopping him. No stopping him whatsoever. Now they did lose Hunter Henry, but bringing in Jared Cook, we'll see how that works out. But yeah, there's a lot to like for that Chargers team, and they should be excited for sure. So really excited about that. Lewis, thank you so much for coming back. Glad to have you back on the stream. It's good to see you. And I know who you're rooting for here. I know you're rooting for the Bears in this one. And, hey, this is a good one right here. We know we're going to get to see some extended reps from the starters in terms of just or those who do start the game. I know Josh Allen won't be out there. But still, in terms of getting a good quality look for the Bears against the Bills defense, that's all you want from this game, honestly, to see how they're going to do against this really good Bills defense. And vice versa for the Bills, you want to be able to see what Mitchell Trubisky can do should Josh Allen have to miss a game or two, especially going up against his former team. I mean, of course, who doesn't want to shine against their former team? And there you have it. Lewis here is rooting for the Chicago Bears in this one. Mitchell Trubisky throws the ball incomplete. Yeah, that one is incomplete. But, yeah, I know Mitchell Trubisky wants to go out there and just show a little something. He knows it's the preseason, but you certainly don't want to go out there and look bad. That's for sure. You really don't want that. Let's see. All right, so we've got 2 here for the Bears in this one, King. He says, let's go Bears. So the Bears are here to start things off. And what a pass by Mitchell Trubisky, and that is completed. So, yeah, that was a pass to Davis for 13 yards. And so, but, yeah, I'm always intrigued when I see a young quarterback, especially, so young in his career, move to another team that's, ideally just a better fit for him, it seems. Because, what Chicago needed from him, he was not that guy. He let Chicago down in so many ways. But now they've got Justin Fields, so the fan base is excited about that. But, for Mitchell Trubisky, a good backup position for him to learn behind Josh Allen, Josh Allen took strides last year. He really took some strides. He earned that money. And right now it's going to be 2nd and 3. And that's Devin Singletary. If there's one thing the Bills definitely need, they need more production from their running backs than what they got last season. Okay, Trubisky throws that one completed. That's a 10-yard gain. And that's to Knox, the tight end. And, you can see, the offensive line is giving them time. And they're giving them, if you give any quarterback in this league time, they can pick you apart for the most part. Let's see. King says the Cowboys. For the Cowboys, it's going to be a matter of how healthy are they really and how improved is this defense going to be. There's a lot of unknowns right now for the Cowboys on the defensive side of the ball. Can Zeke become the Zeke that he was in the first couple of years in the league? I know we've been waiting for that for a couple of years, but he seems like he lost some weight now. So if ever it's the time, now might be the time. It's going to depend on that offensive line as well. They need the offensive line to live up to the hype that the Cowboys have always carried with their offensive linemen in terms of being one of the best units in football. But lately, they've been one of the most banged up units. And they're going to need them guys to go out there and be able to play the course of the duration of the season, especially with Dak Prescott, as Mitchell Trubisky is able to throw another completion there. Seems like Mitchell's out there trying to warm up. But Dak Prescott, obviously with the whole ankle coming back from that, he hasn't been in the game yet to where he has to really worry about somebody hitting him again. And, he's mentioned it as well. He just wants to go out there on the field and I guess you can say put it behind him, have some guys coming at him, see how his body stands up to it and get it behind him. And then he's got a shoulder problem as well. And so there's a lot of questions right now for the Cowboys. So we'll see how they do. Let's see for the Lakers, absolutely love everything that they did. Obviously, would I have liked for some of those guys to be younger? That would have been great. But hey, I've always for the longest, I wanted to see Carmelo in a Lakers jersey. They made my lifelong dream come true. So that right there is just great for nostalgic standpoints. But other than that, they had a tremendous offseason. I know they're still looking to fill out the rest of that roster. I know that they've been taking some looks at guys like Isaiah Thomas and stuff like that. But I feel like the Lakers, they're going to be in a very great place this upcoming season. I know that they've got age working against them, but from one thing that we've seen from a couple of these older players is that you can still continue to play. I know we're reverting back to the 82-game season, so that's something to take note of. The last couple of seasons have been reduced. I know last year they reduced it to 70. I think it was like 72. The year before that, it was obviously really interrupted by COVID. So we're planning on having a full season, fingers crossed, and that's obviously going to play a role in terms of just fatigue throughout the season. But I believe in the Lakers. They're obviously my favorite team, so I believe in them. And what a pass. Mitchell, he's out there playing perhaps one of his better games you can ever say throughout his career, but he's still short of the 4th down. So let's see if Buffalo's going to opt to go for it, or will they decide to bring out the special teams unit. But that offensive line is giving him some time. I will say that. He has a clean pocket, and he's been able to throw the ball, get the ball out quickly. Okay, 4th and 1. A great opportunity to have situational football right here. And they are at the 11. So rather than opt for the field goal, they're going to try to get that 1 yard against that tough Bears defense. Let's see who wins. Oh, they toss it out. Singleton gets it, and then he gets a touchdown. So the Bills, they are able to get a touchdown on this drive. Singletary for the 14-yard carry on that play. I was a little surprised to see that right there. But, wow, what a play. Yeah, Singleton, he did a good job on that one because 94 had the leverage on that. Like, I don't know how that happened in terms of him getting not just past the defenders, but in the end zone. But if you're a Bills fan, then you're excited about that. And they've got the extra point coming up. Right now it's currently 6-0 as they were able to drive it down. Let's see. As for the Baltimore Ravens this year, I'm excited for the Ravens this year, honestly. That's one of the teams that I consider an X factor. Like, we know that they're going to be a good team this year, but obviously they improved at the wide receiver position. But we'll see just how much. They brought in a guy like Sammy Watkins. And so we know what Sammy Watkins can do, particularly in the playoffs. And for Baltimore, that's huge. If all he's able to do, if he has a regular season where he doesn't really go off or anything, just has some basic numbers, but he goes off in the playoffs, then that's huge. That's a W right there for the Ravens, because they need guys that's going to step up and help Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. And that's certainly someone, obviously, drafting, I believe his name is Bateman and stuff from Minnesota. That's another great pick right there. So, yeah, I like what Baltimore did, improving the wide receiver position. Another year, another chance for Lamar Jackson to continue to develop as the passer aspect of it, and just, be more mature, try not to force things that aren't there, be smart, take slides, stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the Ravens this upcoming season. Yeah, the Clippers. I feel like the Clippers, they're still gonna be good, but I don't think that this upcoming season is gonna be one that they're gonna contend for a championship. I just feel like, obviously, with Kawhi and his situation, recovering from that injury, that's gonna play a role. Kawhi's not someone that's gonna force himself to go out there and play. Just because, even if it is at the point of, okay, he's healthy for the playoffs, I think he'll just sit this one out. But yeah, so I think that this upcoming year, and then when they traded Pat Bev and stuff, that showed me, yeah, they're thinking about the future, probably beyond next season. They're still going to be competitive. They're still going to be good. Still going to make the playoffs, but yeah, they're not going to be, like, I guess you could say, same hype as last year. Yeah, and as for the Blazers, I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing the Blazers again. I mean, I like the way that the team is built. It just feels like one of those things where they're going to need to get just a few breaks probably in the playoffs to help their case. But they're always an exciting team to watch, and I'm always looking forward to watching them play. Dame, CJ, and company, excited to see them play. As a Shaq, thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here, man. And I know, hey, the Bears faithful, they are here strong. Everybody so far in the chat, they're for the Bears. So I know that. I don't even have to ask as a Shaq. I already know he is here for the Bears, guys. But yeah, Trubisky going to play like Brady this game. This will be the one time that he really will have that moment, I guess you can say. He's going to use his best football for the preseason, I guess. But that's typically how it is. Guys, the first time going against their former team, they want to go out there and look good. And let's be quite frank, he's not expecting to get any snaps in the regular season behind Josh Allen. So, yeah, this is the perfect time to just go out there and have a career day, because it's probably going to be the most passes he's going to get all year long. And if you're a Bills fan, you really want that to be true, because if he's getting more passes than that, then that means something went wrong in terms of just an injury or something like that. So you definitely want for this to be the only action that he gets. But good job for him on that one. I know that meant a lot to lead his team down there for a scoring drive, and he wants to continue to do just that. As we have the return, make it out to it looks like about the 18-yard line. But I really want to see what Andy Dalton's going to do, guys. Like, I really need to see from Andy Dalton, because obviously I know Justin Fields, he's young, so I can get that. You want to develop him. But the only way you can justify that is if Andy Dalton's out there at least holding the position down. You can't be out there, especially against the good defenses. Against the good defenses, he can't be out there, throwing for less than 200 yards or barely 200 yards at best. So I need to see what he's going to do. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, especially against this Bills defense. All right, and the run to Williams. I keep forgetting that it's Williams, just looking off of the number 8. I mean, I'm still getting used to seeing that, guys. Yeah, the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls, what they did bringing in, guys like Lonzo and stuff, that was really big. I'm excited for the Bulls. Obviously, the entire state of Chicago, I'm excited for them. Not just talking about their professional teams as well, but they were balling last year. If you look at their, college basketball team as well, you think about what, Illinois, what they did. There's a lot of schools from Chicago in terms of universities that was exciting to watch. And in terms of basketball, I guess you can say the only thing that I'm really looking to see is how is the football team going to do at the college level, the college football team, the Fighting Illini, how are they going to do this upcoming year? But in terms of just the Bulls in general, they are going to be a playoff team. And I think that they're going to be a team that probably ends up being anywhere between that 4th to 6th slot. Somewhere up in there, I think, is what you'll see for the Chicago Bulls this upcoming year. And they're going to be an exciting team to watch this upcoming year. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the Bull games, and also looking forward to streaming those games. Those are going to be some of the games that I look forward to the most once the NBA season comes, regular season starts. Right now it's 3rd and 9. These are the plays that I need to see Andy Dalton be able to make. He drops back, steps up, throws it, and this receiver's just short. Great job by the receiver, though, to try to get as close as he can to the first down line there. You try to throw those routes to where it's close enough to where if he makes a guy miss, he can get the first down in situations like that. Obviously, against a good team like the Buffalo Bills, though, that's going to be a tough one regardless, just to try to throw against their defense. So he made the smart read, and they're going to punt the ball here. And that's pretty much what you guys can expect from Andy Dalton, I think, throughout the duration of this upcoming season. He's going to make a lot of plays like that. It's going to be up to the receivers to make plays after the catch to help, this Bears team out. That in combination of obviously having guys like David Montgomery in the backfield, that's going to bode well for Chicago. Let's see. Yeah, and as for the Sacramento Kings, the Kings, they certainly have more work, I think, that they need to do in terms of just getting to the point where they can be one of the top tier teams. They certainly do have a lot of work to do, but they've got some young pieces there, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to work out for them. But they've got some pieces in general that they're still going to have to will and deal over the next couple of seasons to make this team. I missed I missed that he fumbled that punt there. But yeah, Kings definitely got more work to do. Let's see. Phoenix Suns. Yeah, when it comes to the Phoenix Suns, man, last year I was just so hurt for Chris Paul in terms of him not being able to get that championship, but obviously they got to put that behind them. And they've got the talent. Devin Booker, he's only going to get better. I like the way that he plays. I really do. I'm a big fan of his. And then obviously down there at the post, that they was extremely young last year, and that's something that I feel that they're going to be even better with this upcoming year, because the more that you have your young guys like DeAndre Ayton, the more that he's able to just get bigger, get stronger, that's going to help him when it comes to key matchups like in the playoffs and stuff. But last year there was a lot of breaks. There was a lot of teams that got hurt, like especially that first series against the Lakers. Hopefully that's not the case again in terms of any injuries, and they can go out there and be 100%, because we had too many stars fall down last season, too many stars across the board. I do not want to see that happen again. So I'm really hoping that next year it's not like that. But I'm excited that we're going to get to see a full season, guys. And also, while we're talking about a little bit of basketball, I know this is a football preseason game. We will get to that. But anybody that does want to comment, some of the primetime matchups that you guys saw in the NBA schedule that you guys are excited to see this upcoming season, definitely do let me know. I didn't get too much time to look at the schedule yesterday, so I'll be really paying attention to the chat here. But you guys do let me know which upcoming games from the schedule that was released that you guys are looking forward to this upcoming NBA season, which matchups. Let's see. Lewis says, good drive for the Bills, but I'm not worried about the Bears defense, more interested on how the offense performs versus the Bills defense. Smart guy here. Absolutely. Yeah, that's really the major takeaway here, is that that's what you really need to evaluate right here, especially since Andy Dalton is, seems like he's going to be the starter here. It's very important, these reps that we see with Andy Dalton. How does he do against a team like the Bills? Because honestly, the Chicago fan base, you guys can make the playoffs. You really know that. It's just a matter of you need the quarterback that gives you the best chance to go further than just making the playoffs or the first round. You need someone that can match you up against, whether we're talking Green Bay, whether we're talking Tampa, because that defense is going to keep you in the game enough that if you have an offense that can be explosive, which is why we love the idea of having a Justin Fields. Yeah, Andy Dalton, he can get you through the regular season, I believe. But when it comes time for the playoffs and stuff, that's when you're going to need to step it up another level. And that's what I need for Andy Dalton to show, as if he's going to, go out there and be the starter, that he needs to be able to show that he can convert on a 3rd and 8 or something like that and be able to get the first down. Let's see. Mitchell gets that ball out quickly for the completion. All right, let's see. Let's see. Addersack says, yes, our defense isn't the problem. It's our offense. How that has really been the theme, though, for Chicago for so long. For so long, guys. I have felt that for you guys for so long. So that's why I'm so excited that you guys now have Justin Fields, and the future is going to be really bright. Meanwhile, Mitchell Trubisky's out here just throwing dimes, guys. Like, Mitchell is out here. He's really just trying to play, guys. Like, this is his Super Bowl right here. So I'm really, and yeah, and if you're the Bills, then yeah, you're really liking what you're seeing from a backup standpoint. Right now he looks to be comfortable out there in the shotgun. Yeah, and they're called in plays to set him up for success out there. They're getting the ball out quick because they know how good that Bears defense is. So they're making sure they get the ball out extremely quick here. Let's see. But yeah, we have a ton of games coming on later today that is, there's a lot to look forward to as well in those games. Meanwhile, Trubisky gets the ball out quickly. All right, good job there by Singleton to make a couple guys miss and pick up some positive yards there. Yeah, the combination of Singleton and Zach Moss, that's going to be one to watch this upcoming season because I need to see how are they going to look this year. I felt like last year, obviously injuries and stuff, that really played a role as to why they were not as effective as I thought that they probably could have been heading into the season. But that's certainly a position that I'm going to be watching this upcoming season. All right, Trubisky throws one of his first questionable passes of the game. That would have been a nice pick six, though. Just saying, if he'd have been able to come away with that one, it'd have been a nice pick six. Yeah, that was just a poor pass on that. All right, 3rd and 5. Let's see if this Bears defense can bear down and get the ball to the offense here. Trubisky's looking. He wants to run with it. He throws on the run, gets the completion. And that is a gain of about 8 yards. Yeah, he knew he didn't want to take that hit there by Mac. He really didn't want to take that hit there. So, yeah, I don't blame him. I would have ran too. All right, so we've got 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. Snap the ball. Mitchell's looking. Yeah, he had to throw that one. All right, so that pressure's starting to get to him now. But yeah, I know after this game, we have the Jets and the Packers coming on at 4:25, Eastern time. You've got the Falcons and Miami coming on later on, as well as Baltimore and Carolina, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Tampa Bay. That's going to be a good one to watch. Meanwhile, Trubisky snaps it, throws it up. Just throws it out of bounds. Let's see. Houston, Dallas, Indianapolis, Minnesota. So we've got some games to choose from, guys. It's 3rd and 10. Let's see if Trubisky can find a way to get the first down here, or if the Bears defense can get a stop or maybe even a turnover. Trubisky throws, gets the first down, and there's a flag. I saw movement on the defensive side. Don't know if the offensive guy moved first, but it looks like it was on the defensive side. So on the defense, yeah, that's going to be declined there. The Sports Blitz has joined the stream. Thank you so much for joining the stream, man. What's good? Football on a Saturday. What gets better than that, right? Well, I guess the only thing that could be better is if you were watching the regular season. Honestly, that would really be The only thing that can make this better, really. But hey, I'm always loving football, so glad to have you here. And guys, if you haven't checked out his channel, definitely do check out his channel. The Sports Blitz. He's definitely posting a lot of content, and his channel's starting to ramp up. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you guys check this guy out and subscribe to his channel. Definitely produces a lot of great content. He even had a video went viral, guys. So I'm talking about a lot of views here, like over 50,000 views. So definitely check this guy out. He is on the rise. Yes, the regular season is coming soon, guys. And so I know the Sports Blitz, he is a fan of the Carolina Panthers. And so if you're someone out there that likes the Carolina Panthers and want to see more coverage of Carolina, I mean, he definitely covers all NFL teams. So definitely if you like football in general, but especially if you're a Panthers fan, you've got to check this guy out for sure. Meanwhile, a 2nd and goal. Trubisky looks to throw, and that's a touchdown. Touchdown, Trubisky. Of course, guys, of course. But yeah, touchdown Buffalo again. All right, so now I'm looking at the coaching staff like, if Andy Dalton doesn't score on this drive, like, let's see what Justin Fields got. But yeah, that was a nice throw by Mitchell Trubisky on that one. Ball was on the money. Great reception. Ooh, the Sports Blitz says that Trubisky is looking better than Dalton, to be honest. Well, I mean, hey, the stats aren't lying right now. I mean, that's definitely clearly in this game for sure right now. Let's see. The Sports Blitz says that my game. Yeah. Sometimes it's like that. I know that a lot of times when I was streaming basketball last year, just depending on the room that I'm at, I was behind my own scoreboard. So now that I'm in a different area of the house now, it's like, okay, so now I'm actually like a little bit ahead of the scoreboard, or at least at the same pace of the scoreboard here. So, but yeah, apologize about that. I know you won't be watching any of my Panther streams because I know you don't like seeing any spoilers before you see it yourself. So I definitely get that. But yeah. So they're going to go for 2 points here. I wonder if this was Mitchell's idea. Like, nah, I want to go for 2, coach. Let me get the 2 points here. All right, he's got one back in the backfield. Good situational football practice because this is a preseason game, so it's a good opportunity for both teams to really just practice situational football. Oh, he tried his best to throw it, and it's just off the fingertip of Singletary. If that would have been a catch, that would have been one heck of a play. Let's see. Sometimes the scoreboard can be spoilers. Yep, it really is that way sometimes, honestly. But I have to make sure that if I'm streaming a game, I absolutely hate it if the scoreboard changes before I see what's going on. So I finally found an area in the house in which the scoreboard and the TV actually seem to be just about at the same. Let's see. Adderstack says, why are they going for 2? Yeah, I was a little surprised, but I guess since it's just the preseason, they want to take a look at how he does against, I guess, the Bears defense at the 2-point conversion for situational football. But outside of that, I really don't know what they're trying to prove out there. And man, stopped in the backfield. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're getting a little carried away here. A little carried away. Let's see. The Sport Blitz says, let's see some Fields. Does anyone ever even want to see Dalton? You're so right about that. I mean, the only reason why I want to see Dalton is because I need to see what the coaching staff, who's getting paid millions of dollars to evaluate these guys, if they're going to stick Andy Dalton out there and not even make this really competition. What is he showing them that leads them to believe that he's going to be better than what we saw with the Cowboys? I mean, because in my opinion, the Cowboys last year, with all the weapons that they had, we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, you're talking about Cooper, you're talking about Gallup, all of those guys, plus Zeke in the backfield, And many times, Andy Dalton, except for maybe a few moments late in the game when the game was basically almost done, or they were playing against one of the trash teams in their division at that time, it was like, what has he really done, honestly, when it comes to showing you that he's going to be able to do something recently? I mean, maybe the Cincinnati version early in his career, the Cincinnati Bengals version of Andy Dalton, then yes, that's someone that you would put ahead. But lately, I don't know. I mean, that's why I really need to see what is he showing them to make them believe, other than the fact that, yeah, he has experience in the past. But if you can ramp up Justin Fields and your defense, Chicago's got a great defense. They can carry this team if Justin Fields still needs to learn. So if you're starting Andy Dalton, you need to show me what Andy Dalton's got in terms of that makes you believe that he's the guy that can lead you to some playoff wins, if he's at his best. So that's what I'm saying. And yeah, as a Shaq's like, pull the rug from Andy Dalton. He needs to see some Fields. We want to see Justin Fields, especially after the last couple of possessions. Please save me from seeing another bad preseason game that's a completely one-sided affair. Put Justin Fields in the game. I think we're all asking for that right now. Yes, yeah, Abstract says they have literally went for 2 points 3 times. Hey, I promise you, Mitchell Trubisky probably told the OC, if we score, I want to go for 2. Like, we have to pour it on these guys. So they're doing it for Mitchell. Let's see. Lewis says that Mitch might be looking good right now, but his time was up with the Bears and had too many chances. I'm happy the Bears' future right now. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that part was evident. Last year was the final straw, and he knew that going into the season, that last year was going to be his last chance with the Bears. I mean, anybody could have seen that. And so, yeah, making the playoffs, that's one thing. But, sometimes you have to improve the position. You think back years ago, I'm talking about years ago, when the Broncos were still under the whole Tebow mania thing, and he was their quarterback, and he led them to the playoffs. He came in, provided a spark from an energy and leadership standpoint. But what did they do after that? They went and got Peyton Manning, in which the Indianapolis Colts, for some reason, didn't want to retain him. But, they upgraded the position, even though they were already a playoff team. And so that's what happened. That's what's happening here with the Bears. Mitchell Trubisky, they made the playoffs with him, or I should say, made the playoffs in spite of a couple of his performances and stuff. But they need to get They needed a quarterback that was going to be able to come in and help them take that next leap. Because you can't ask the defense to go out there and hold every single team to 6 points. You just cannot ask a defense to do that. That's not fair. But yeah, the Bears right now, they're in a good situation as we see Andy Dalton completes that pass for a 13-yarder. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's just his furthest pass yet tonight, or at least his best pass tonight. Let's see. The Sport Blitz says, yeah, we thought Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace saved their jobs in getting Fields. Now they won't even start him. Yeah, I've said it before in another stream, and I'll say it again. I really feel that Matt Nagy, his decision on when to start Justin Fields is going to ultimately determine, his job status, honestly. Now, obviously, the Bears can still, make the playoff. But even as we've seen, even last year when they made the playoffs, like, they were still contemplating whether or not they're going to bring him back. Now, they told him that we will bring you back if they make the playoffs, so therefore they brought him back. But he knows ownership right now is constantly watching him. So if he doesn't make the right decision and he lets Andy Dalton go out there and this offense is not a top 20 or top 20, I'll say top 20 offense or anything like that, then yeah, that's when okay, even if we're winning, if we're not a top 20 offense, we might need to consider making that switch. And it's really up to Andy Dalton at this point. If Andy Dalton goes out there, and he might be a game manager, but if he makes the big plays when they're needed in the game, then that justifies, I guess, holding off for as long as you want to. But what I'm saying is, by the time the bye week hits for the Bears, I don't know when the bye week is exactly. So if somebody can tell me when the Bears bye week is, that'd be great. But by the time the bye week hits for the Bears, Justin Fields should be the starter coming out of that bye week. I think that's what you have to do. There's no reason why Andy Dalton should finish the season as a starting quarterback, I don't think. And there we have Williams on the carry. Looks like a gain of about 3 or 4, but there's a flag on that play. Let's see. The Sports Blitz says that he thinks that he's NFL ready. Hey, that's what the fans want. That's what the fans want to see. So I'm assuming at some point in the second quarter, we'll get to see Justin Fields hopefully earlier, especially if the Bears don't end up scoring on this drive, because like we don't want it to become too one-sided. We really don't want that. So let's put Fields in. Let's save this preseason game. Yes, Adishak says that he hopes so. I don't want to rush him, but I'm excited for his first game. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to do my best of, is not to rush him. And so that's why we want to obviously see more snaps from him and see just how comfortable does he look, when he's at the line of scrimmage, what kind of audibles does he make, things like that. But he's electric, like I remember when you first saw Patrick Mahomes out there, not to make the comparison between the two or anything like that. But you listen to Pat Mahomes. They was asking him like, "Wow, your first season you lit it up. How did the NFL just come so easy to you?" And he said, honestly, he was just out there using instinct a lot of the times, as opposed to actually making, like I guess you could say the proper reads and stuff. But he was feeling his way through the game, and he was just electric enough to where it was working and stuff. But there were some things that he still needed to work upon. So I understand it's going to take a little bit of time for Justin Fields to get to the level to where he's able to make a lot of those reads, those checkdowns, those audibles, things like that. But he's got his team to help him. Meanwhile, there's a fumble, and it looked like Buffalo had recovered, but let's see if the Bears can come away with it. Really hope it's the Bears' possession, and it's going to be Buffalo's ball here. So, yeah, Williams with the fumble. And, yeah, so it's going to be Bills football. Yeah, it doesn't look like he had a knee down or anything. That's going to be Bills football. Let's see. Sports Blitz says that it's preseason. Let the guys have fun and go for two. And so, yeah, I mean, it is preseason. You want to practice situational football, and you're not going to get a better chance than that. Let's see. Fields will have plenty of playing time. There's 2 more preseason games to be played. Got to be cautious with Fields and keep him safe and healthy. And so, yeah, if you're including this one right here, yes, I know next week will be the last one. But yeah, next week will be the last preseason game. And so I'm definitely looking forward to it. And that's one of the biggest switches, with moving from 4 preseason games to 3, is that now it gives teams to get that, that bye week before the start of the regular season. So that's really good right there. Let's see. Lewis says that Fields will be the starter sooner than expected. Okay, are we vouching to say that he's going to be the starter in week 1 or week 2? Let me know your prediction. And what week do you think that he's going to be the starter? Let's see. Hey, the audio level keeps changing quite a bit. It'll be quiet, then it'll get super loud. Let me see. Let's see. All right, you guys let me know if the audio keeps going like up and down and stuff like that. I made a small change to try to make it not go too high, and I guess I'm going to try to project my voice at the same level. I think I'm going in and out when I talk. So, but yeah, appreciate the heads up there. Let's see. Lewis says that by week 3 should be about right. You know what? If I had to say when I think that Justin Fields should take over, I would say either week 5 or week 6. I got to look at the opponent because I want him to come in against a team that I know he can go out there and it'll be a great matchup for him against that team. I don't want to throw him out there in the biggest game of the year, like against Green Bay or anything like that. But certainly, if we're whenever they play Detroit the first time, that's the perfect time to put Justin Fields in at quarterback, especially if it's somewhat early in the season. That's the best time to start him against the Detroit Lions. Let him go out there. I'm pretty sure the defense can help them come away with that W. That's a great game to target, I think, to go get him out there, get him some confidence early and stuff like that. And if there's little things that we need to work on after that, we'll have stuff to go and talk about. When obviously, there's going to be stuff to talk about in the film room and in practice, but certainly that is what I'm thinking about. But I don't know the Bears schedule off the top of my head and when they play Detroit, but that's the team I would aim for. Meanwhile, Mitchell Trubisky, he throws that one, and we've got guys trying to go airborne here. It's just the preseason, but you can't tell these Bills that they are really trying to go out there and flex their muscles today. So let's see. It's going to be 1st and 10. All right, come on, Bears defense. We need a turnover or something, some type of turnover. Okay, so the audio is better. Glad to hear that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I just had to lower my volume some on my end, so I appreciate that. All right, looks like we've got the end of the first quarter here. So at the end of the first quarter, it has been all Buffalo right now, 13-0. And as for the Bears, I'm pretty sure that their fans are really going to want to see Justin Fields very soon, very, very soon. And let's save this preseason game before this gets out of hand. Mitchell Trubisky, he has been looking like like he's been on fire, like he is in the zone, like he's been waiting ever since he's been let go from the Bears. He's been waiting for this one preseason game the entire time. So, and yeah, I mean, hey, Detroit is the perfect opponent to start Justin Fields in the regular season whenever the Bears end up playing against him. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up the Bears schedule over here and see when that is. Because if it's too late in the season, then if it's after the bye week, then you aim for the bye week first, assuming the Bears have a bye week that's relatively somewhat early, but not too early. Let's see the Bears NFL schedule. All right, let's check this out. Yeah, for everybody that's tuning in and watching the stream, really appreciate you guys so much for coming through. It really means a lot to me. Really appreciate you guys. And do make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of, football content, NBA content. As you can see, streaming these preseason games. So I'm going to stream the regular season games. Same for basketball, whether we're talking the college level, NFL level. Definitely going to be doing my best to make sure that I'm paying attention to all of those and that I am streaming those games, especially for college football, how the roster is constantly changing. And there's going to be a lot of times that you guys are going to wonder, who are these guys that's coming up, that's projected to be first round picks, especially if you're a fan of a team like Detroit, like Houston, teams like that, that maybe you might be looking for a quarterback next year. You're definitely going to want to watch some of the big games this year that has a lot of the top prospects for next year's draft. So definitely do consider subscribing to the channel there. Let's see. Isaac says that, is this what our offense with Dalton is going to look like? He says that he swears that he's seen the same 3-and-out offense before. Can't put his finger on when, though, because it's our offense every year. Ouch. Harsh criticism there from Isaac. He is currently not impressed right now with Andy Dalton and what's going on there. I mean, there's just so many more creative things that you can do if you have a guy like Justin Fields in. I mean, there's so many ways you can take advantage of different aspects of the offense. But quite frankly, is this the Andy Dalton that I thought the Bears were signing? Yes, this is the version of the Andy Dalton that I thought they were signing. Meanwhile, Mitchell Trubisky goes deep, incomplete. Thank goodness for that, guys. This could have gotten ugly really badly. But yeah, I mean, Andy Dalton has shown, because when he was with the Cowboys, and I know before that everybody was talking about how the Cowboys have the best backup in football last season. If you guys can remember when there was a whole bunch of talk about Dak Prescott, his contract situation last year. And so they was like, oh, Andy Dalton, he's no longer in Cincinnati, where A.J. Green is always hurt. He's going to have all these wide receivers and stuff. The Cowboys should just start him and get rid of Dak Prescott or something like that. And then when the regular season hit and then Prescott went out there and had the team, competitive. Obviously, the Cowboys, they win some, they lose some. But then when he got hurt and everybody realized, oh, snap, Andy Dalton's got to come in. And Andy Dalton came in and he looked terrible. I'm not going to lie, the man looked terrible at first. Now, he got better as the season went on in terms of for the Cowboys and stuff. Till at the very end, they were more competitive. But, yeah, he did not take advantage of the weapons that he had. With those weapons, he should have did much better than what he did last year for the Dallas Cowboys. And so, yeah, this is what I'm expecting in terms of what we're seeing right now with the Bears. There's going to be a lot of games that you get 10, 13 points with Andy Dalton, 16 points. On very few occasions will you reach 23 points, but you will not. On very few occasions will you exceed 23 points with Andy Dalton as your starting quarterback. So that means you're playing a team like Green Bay, you're at a huge disadvantage because good and well that Green Bay is at least capable of putting up a good 28 plus points. So you're going to have to hit 30 if you're playing a team like that. And then that's with a good defense. If you ain't got no defense, then he's just going to go off on you. But and he's always going to be hyped up when he plays against the Bears. He has tremendous respect for the Bears defense. He knows what that defense brings. So, that's why it's important that you take a guy like Justin Fields and you do your best to get him ready as soon as possible, because you can really open up the playbook with him back there. They always have to respect the speed that he has. I know Justin Fields from Ohio State. He's not going to run too much, but he's going to run enough to where the defense is going to have to really respect him. And him working out with Deshaun Watson, I think that was a great move on his part in terms of just, if we're talking about just on the field stuff, just being able to learn from a quarterback that has similar skill sets to what he has. Meanwhile, that pass is incomplete. And so that's going to bring up 4th down right there. So there we go. Let's see. So Lewis agrees and says that he's seen the same offense in the past. Dalton no different than past quarterbacks. Gee, you guys are really harsh on these past Bears quarterbacks. I mean, you guys did have a quarterback lead you guys to the Super Bowl within the last 2 decades. Rex Grossman. I'm sure nobody wants to talk about him though, but but yeah, I feel the pain though. Adeshak says, yeah, for sure. Let's see. Mischief Mike, thank you so much for joining the stream. Glad to have you here. And he says the Bills finna watch that Super Bowl. And so there you go. Let's see. He says, win it all. Okay, but he says, and then he corrects it again. All right. Let's see. Adeshak says, oh gosh, I forgot we had Artie Burns. Let's see. And okay, so we've got someone here that says the Bills finna win it all. So you've got to be loving this preseason game right here. And not only that, you've got to be hyped for the regular season. I mean, the Bills, they really have a very solid team. When I look at this team from top to bottom, they're very solid. I can't lie. This is coming from a guy in myself who's a Patriot fan. But yeah, what the Bills have, they are very impressive. I love the whole Stephon Diggs thing. I mean, getting him from Minnesota, that was really big. It helped Josh Allen be able to take that next leap because you have a superstar like Diggs on your team. And then the rest of the team is just really, really solid what Buffalo has. Then what they did in the draft, I feel like what they did in the draft, it's really going to pay off once you get closer to, say, the playoffs and stuff. That's when it's really going to pay off a lot. So the Bills are very much in that conversation for sure. And Zach Moss is getting some carries. And look at that, powering his way above. Is he saying that he's short of it? I thought he hit the goal pole, the pile line there. Let's see. Mischief says that Trubisky had no O-line, so he was garbage. And so there you go there. He said, look out for Marquise Stevenson. He might not get Bills too many receivers, but he is a great rookie. Yeah, he definitely is a great rookie. And that's a good problem to have for the Bills, to have that type of depth there, honestly, especially with the amount of receivers that you guys do have. And then the quarterback, you got Josh Allen. You got to love it. Josh Allen got paid. So I will congratulate the Bills on that. They did not wait too late. They went ahead and paid this man. Because he earned it. He really did. And so it was a good job there to go ahead and pay your quarterback so that way you don't have to worry about those. Let's see. He says the Bills' weakness is Moss and Singletary run too slow. Yeah, Moss is definitely that running back that you guys love to use near the goal line. And last year, I really thought that either one of those guys were going to take off. But yeah, I feel like last year, this is something that an area that they really can improve upon for this year that can really help the Bills even take it up a notch higher, is if those running backs are able to contribute more than what they did last year, then that just makes this team even more scary. But yeah, the Bills are going to be a team to watch. And yeah, believe me, every time that they play, it's going to be pretty much a primetime game, honestly, especially you look at the teams that they're playing inside the division. You've got the Patriots, you've got the Dolphins and stuff. Jets are there too, but the Jets right now, they've got a lot going on with all the injuries that they got out for the year and stuff. Their priorities is just to focus on Zach Wilson and his development this upcoming season. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very nice, year for the Bills. And so Bills Mafia, you've got to be excited. And hey, those fans, I will say that both teams that's playing right now, I can make a strong case that these two fan bases are, definitely within the top 5 of the most loyal fan bases there is out there. Because as you guys have mentioned, when it comes to the Bears, you guys have seen a lot of quarterbacks go out there that have not looked the part. Meanwhile, you watch the rest of the league and the Bears, they're just, when are we going to get a quarterback? And so now you guys drafted a guy that we believe is going to be someone that's going to be a superstar out there. But you guys have waited so long for that quarterback. And then you look for the Bills. I mean, my goodness, the Bills have been through so much over the years, making it to 4 straight Super Bowls, not winning. And then after that, having to go through so many different types of quarterbacks. I mean, I remember during the time where, they had guys like, they drafted JP Lossman. That didn't work out. And he's kind of like the forgotten man of that draft class. I mean, everybody remembers Eli Manning. They remember Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, but they forget about JP Lossman was also considered to be amongst them when they drafted him, I believe, out of Tulane, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so that didn't work out. And then they brought in, Drew Bledsoe for a period. That didn't work out. Trent Edwards, that didn't work out. So Bills Mafia, they've had to wait a good minute to find a guy like Josh Allen. And so now that they got him, they absolutely embraced him. And he was the perfect quarterback for the Bills. He's got a strong arm to match that weather, all that stuff. Let's see. So where am I? All right. So I think this is where I left off at. Let's see. Mike says that the Bills right now will lose to Mahomes again in that championship. And so I will say this, though, what the Chiefs did that was really impressive is the money that they invested on that offensive line, that's going to be huge. So the Chiefs, we already know what they bring from the offensive standpoint, but I tell you what, this is certainly going to be as the Bills get that touchdown there. So touchdown Buffalo. It is currently 19-0. Coaching staff has got to bring in Justin Fields. Do it for the team. Do it for the team. If nothing else, do it for my stream. Please help us out. Give us Justin Fields already. We've seen enough of Andy Dalton at the moment. But yeah, so okay, so you believe that's where the Bills pretty much is going to end up, I guess, this year in terms of just if you would give me your record prediction of what you think the Bills are going to be able to do in terms of in the regular season, wins and losses, and then how far you got them going in the playoffs, definitely would love to hear that from you. But yeah, the Chiefs, they're going to be still a tough team. There's a lot of great teams in the AFC, so it's going to be exciting to watch this year. And they're going for 2 again, and Trubisky gets the 2-point conversion, so it's 21-0. Let's see. Addersack says that the Bills' weaknesses is their running backs, but even then, Singletary and Moss are both very solid backs. And I completely agree with this because I feel like it helps because you have a guy like Josh Allen. And so if you have Josh Allen and then he's doing like some type of, RPO or either just, like he can either keep it or hand it to the running back, either or, the combination of having to make the decision to go after him or maybe a Zach Moss at the goal line, they're not going to be running backs that's going to go out there and probably get you 125 yards in the game or even 100 yards throughout the game rushing. But at the goal line, their presence in combination of what Josh Allen has, that is what makes them dangerous because they're physical, solid built back, especially Zach Moss, and then Singletary, we saw that run he had earlier. So they complement what the skill set of what Josh Allen has at the goal line. And so that is what makes those Bills running back, as solid as they are. But at the same time, like there's still a weakness. Let's see. Bills have 2 weaknesses, and that's cornerback and running back position, assuming the new tight ends are any good. I do know that the tight end position, they have been linked to quite a few tight ends in terms of trying to acquire tight ends, throughout the course of the offseason. I kept hearing that come up so much. But yeah, definitely running back as well. And so cornerback, that's obviously going to be important, especially since with a team like the Bills, odds are you're probably going to be playing with the lead throughout most of the games. And then when you face a team like Kansas City, you got to be able to match up against those weapons that they have, as we all know, the weapons that the Kansas City Chiefs possess. So, yeah, it's all about when you're a team like Buffalo right now, you try to build your team to match up against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs or even a team, that you may face in the playoffs, like perhaps Tennessee Titans, now that they've got A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. So definitely making sure that cornerback position is solid. It's going to be big. Meanwhile, Andy Dalton is just running for his life back there, just throws it up, throws it out of bounds. Coach, what are we doing, Coach? What are we doing? Are we leaving Andy Dalton out there until he gets it right? Because if that's the case, he's going to be out there all game. Like, what are we doing right now? I mean, my goodness. It's looking like a mess right now. Let's see. Mike says the Bills never built their O-line until recently. And yeah, I mean, now they've got a quarterback that they certainly want to protect. And so that's definitely going to be big right there because that offensive line is going to be very crucial, very crucial. You don't want Josh Allen taking unnecessary hits. With him having a big body, defenders, they love hitting quarterbacks with big bodies. and stuff. And over the course of the season, that stuff adds up. So the offensive line is going to be really big in terms of protection there. And see, Lewis says, at least in Bills, don't have to worry about a quarterback for a while. You're right about that. I mean, yeah, Josh Allen, he is the perfect fit for the Buffalo Bills. So they're going to be set. That's one thing that both them and the Kansas City Chiefs have in common. They are set at that quarterback position for a while. And soon we'll be able to say the Bears are in that situation as soon as the coaching staff makes that switch to Justin Fields during the regular season and he goes out there and, puts together a couple good seasons. But, yeah, I mean, these guys, they've definitely shown in terms of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes throughout the course of their careers that, yeah, these guys are going to be very, very great for quite some time. So Bills are going to be constantly linked to the playoff conversations for quite some time because when you have guys like that, guys, you're going to be in the playoffs. And see, Lewis says the Bears been struggling to get a solid QB after Cutler left. And so, yeah, Cutler, he was I hate to say he was the best quarterback ever, but in terms of statistically speaking, I believe he holds the record when it comes to for the Bears in terms of like passing yards and stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that honor does go to Jay Cutler. But yeah, I mean the Vanderbilt product, that was the best thing that the Bears certainly have seen. And so that goes to show that they are overdue for a quarterback for sure. Meanwhile, this punt, we're going to get to see a return. All right, he puts the move on one, puts the move on another. Are we going to see this go to all the way? No, he runs out of room, but what a return. That's how you impress the coaching staff right there. Wow, what a return. Let's see. Asher says that he knew Josh Allen would explode. I am happy with that on predication after I really missed what I believed in Mitch too. Oh, man, I felt so bad looking back on the draft class, in hindsight. When you think about the position the Bears were in when they took Mitchell Trubisky, the kid that came in at North Carolina, had one good season. Not going to say it was electric, but a good season and stuff. When I probably would not have known about Patrick Mahomes myself, so I probably would have missed on that too. I'll be honest, I would not have probably taken him first. Just given out of the time that he was coming out of the draft, I did not know enough about him to be able to see what Andy Reid saw in him. So I would have missed that too. But I would have taken Deshaun Watson in that case, and rather than Mitchell Trubisky. Just looking at where my state of mind was prior to the draft, up until the draft, without seeing any of them having played in the NFL or anything like that. That's the route that I think that I would have taken as opposed to Mitchell Trubisky at that point. Because I thought that Deshaun Watson, just coming out, I thought he was special for Clemson. So that was what my evaluation was. Meanwhile, Mitchell Trubisky is out there running for his life, and he somehow gets away. Oh, he somehow gets away. How did he do it? I mean, he wouldn't play like that in the playoffs for the Bears. So why is he doing it in the preseason now? Let's see. Mike says the Bills will lose one or two and even built a pass rush. They did do that throughout the draft, but ultimately the Chiefs counter with good O-line and Bills got no cornerbacks. So there you have it. That definitely does play a role. Now, obviously, between the two teams, like especially if the Chiefs lose just one or two, I think if the Bills want to beat the Chiefs, the formula is going to be obviously, both teams, they can play in cold weather and stuff, but Bills being at home would really be an X factor that could probably make this thing more even between the two in terms of if they're going to beat a team like Kansas City in the playoffs. They would definitely want the Chiefs to be coming down to Buffalo, as Bills Mafia will provide that extra X factor, something that we did not get to really see last year because of COVID and obviously not having the fans out there. But that Bills Nation, this is where the fans get involved there and make things, like a lot more in Bills' favor in that scenario if it's at Buffalo, especially under your scenario in which they lose just one or two games. Then that's how it very well could be down in Buffalo if that's the way that their season plays out. Yes, Mike says, anyone have predictions on Fields? So many good quarterbacks ruined by teams that don't build offensive line. And you're right about that. There are so many quarterbacks that I feel like if they were just in a better place, if they had a better offensive line, maybe a better coaching staff, because the window in the NFL these days, they are extremely short. you look back to like the early 2000s and stuff, and guys had forever in terms of just to get things right. I remember growing up in Miami, and so I watched a lot of the Dolphins, as a kid. And then you'd see a guy like Jay Fiedler or AJ Feeley starting at quarterback, even though you look back at their numbers now and you're like, how did they even start? Because their numbers were not that good. They looked like a poor man's version of Andy Dalton, and they still started for about 3-4 years, honestly, because that was the expectation back then. But now things have changed a lot. Quarterbacks don't get time to develop. You've got to go out there and you've got to, when you get your chance, you've got to show them something immediately. Otherwise, you can end up being outed. So that is for sure something that, you keep your eyes on. But making sure that all the pieces align to help your quarterback succeed, that is very critical. That's what helped a guy like Aaron Rodgers to succeed when he got his opportunity. Green Bay was already a playoff team. That's what helped Patrick Mahomes have his opportunity and be able to have the career that he's having. I mean, the Chiefs were already a playoff team with Alex Smith there. The weapons were already in place. And so you plug these guys in, and then they were able to succeed. Then you look at quarterbacks who were not in those scenarios. I think of Sam Darnold most recently, the situation he was with the Jets. No offensive line. Your best running back you probably had, quite frankly, was Frank Gore. And at this point of his career, that is not what you want at all, unless you're the defense going against them. He lost Robbie Anderson after 1 year. And so, yeah, it just wasn't enough. The defense wasn't all that great. And so, yeah, so you think of a guy like that. So, yeah, it's certainly important to make sure that you put these quarterbacks in a position to where they're going to succeed on the field. And so in terms of my predictions on Fields, it's just a matter of when he gets his opportunity to go in the game. I know I'm supposed to look up the Bears' schedule for their regular season. And so once I know their schedule, that'll give me a clear indication in terms of when I think that it'll be the best time to bring in Justin Fields, honestly. Let's see. Just looking at their schedule. Okay, so the best time I think to bring in Justin Fields, looking at their schedule, is going to be when let's see, that's going to be week 4, when they play the Detroit Lions at home, week 4. That is the perfect time to put Justin Fields in if he's not already in the starting lineup. That's going to be the perfect time. Meanwhile, we have another score here by the Bills. Yeah, Matt Nagy should be ashamed of himself for waiting this long to switch quarterbacks. But yeah, I think week 4, when they play the Detroit Lions, that is the perfect time to put Justin Fields out there. That'll give him enough time to get, fully implemented into the offense, get comfortable by the time that you reach the postseason, honestly. Then by the time you reach postseason, then yeah, he'll be at the point where, at that time, they have more plays for him, continue to develop more plays for him, that he's got chemistry with the receivers, and, they can be at the point now where they're hitting strides in time for the playoffs. Let's see, Mike says Bills tight end, Dawson Knox can't catch, so is Hollister. And Hollister came over from Seattle, and from what I've seen, and given how much, talent the Bills have at the wide receiver position, I feel like Hollister, he's kind of like that, scrappy tight end that nobody really thinks about, but he does get a good amount. He certainly has, solid hands in terms of catching and stuff. And I've seen him make a few plays in Seattle when, when the receivers are guarded and stuff. That's when he's obviously going to be at his best, when he gets an opportunity. So he's not going to go out there, be a big name, but he gets plays when you really need them to. So I like this move down there in Buffalo. And so, the fact that they added him, that is, I think that's nice. So that's a nice move right there. I will say that. I think Buffalo can really take advantage of him, of Hollister. Let's see. Other Strike says, yeah, remember that year in 2016 when the Bears started around like 3 or 4 quarterbacks that whole season? Oh, man, that was like my personal opinion is that I think personally the best quarterback play that I saw from Chicago within the last just, 20 years, it came from Josh McCown, the year that Josh McCown came in and really kept that Bears team. Like, he came in and he looked really good for Chicago, honestly, during the time that Jay Cutler was injured. And then when Jay Cutler came back, oh, man, I felt like, is Andy Dalton going back out there again? Really? Wow. Wow, we're keeping Andy Dalton out there, guys. So this is going to be Matt Nagy's downfall if he does end up getting fired at the end of the year. It's going to be because of stuff like this. But not just saying because in this preseason game, but I think he'll be the same way in the regular season as well, honestly. So, but there you have it. That run gets about 2 yards. But yeah, like I was saying, the whole Josh McCown, they benched Josh McCown in favor of Jay Cutler coming back from an injury in which he had missed a significant amount of time that year. And you guys needed to win that game to make the playoffs. And I was like, stick with the hot hand. Don't mess things up. Josh McCown, he was balling at that time, but they benched him in favor of Jay Cutler and ended up not making the playoffs that year. I'm actually a Patriots fan, but I love Justin Fields because I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan. And so he did tremendous things for us. And meanwhile, look at that play finally for the Bears. Touchdown. There you go. It is about time. I mean, the receiver, he fought for that one, and we got a touchdown. But yeah, I'm a Patriots fan. I just like the situation here for Justin Fields and the Bears. And so that's got me hyped up there. But I am a Patriots fan. Excited for Mac Jones. Although I know Cam Newton, he's our starting quarterback, so I'm rooting him to succeed out there. So I'm excited for the present and future of the Pats. Let's see. Azashak agrees. Let's see. Azashak says that the 2016 Bears team was one of the worst teams that he ever seen. And that's a statement coming from the Bears fan there. But yeah, that 2016 team, when you go through so many quarterbacks, that means it's going to be a long season regardless. John Fox, that's right. I almost forgot that John Fox, he really did coach you guys, didn't he? I forgot all about that. I remember his time down there in Carolina. Meanwhile, the extra point is no good. Wow, that's interesting. But yeah, John Fox, I almost forgot that he was down there in Chicago. I mean, wow. I mean, you guys had him. You guys had guys like Lovie Smith. You guys had some names now when it comes to coaches. It's just nobody was able to produce the quarterback. That's it. Let's see. Lewis says that it looks like Nagy has Dalton run some plays he just came up with. Coming up with him on the spot. Well, hey, I mean, I guess that's one way to make sure the defense doesn't know what you're doing. They can't know what you're doing if the offense doesn't know what they're doing. So, but hey, I mean, got that touchdown there. So I'm sure that that's a big relief there for Andy Dalton. But for Bears fans, they expect better than that because you're going to need to score more than one touchdown or more than 2 touchdowns, really. And a lot of times more than 3 touchdowns to win a game. Let's see. Mike says the Falcons roster is worse than he's seen in a long time. The Texans may be worse. Only good player is Watson with no talent around him. Who is worse? Who's the worst team? Well, yeah, since Houston doesn't, Watson's not going to be out there with them. I think Houston does make a strong case for that. I mean, but I would probably add Detroit to that conversation as well. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, the Falcons probably in comparison to what we've seen from the Falcons, like previous rosters, yes. But I still think the Falcons, they got Calvin Ridley, that's going to be a good combination. Obviously, Kyle Pitts, so you've got 2 weapons there. And I'm pretty sure someone's going to step up and be that third option there. Matt Ryan, he's still Matt Ryan. I like the addition that they did, adding Mike Davis. I felt like that's going to be an upgrade at the running back position because Todd Gurley, I like Todd Gurley and what he does, off the field and even before his injury, but he wasn't the same, last season. So that really held him back, then having Tennessee's former offensive coordinator coming in there, Arthur's going to bring in some new stuff. So for the Falcons, their defense, there's a lot of questions on that defense and stuff, but I wouldn't say the worst roster that I've seen in a while. Not when you have like a team like Detroit out there that really Detroit's just – I'm looking at Detroit and I'm like, well, you've got Jared Goff, and Jared Goff was on a, much better roster the last couple of years, and he didn't look that great except for 1 year. But hell, we've seen Mitchell Trubisky have 1 year as well. That was decent. And then you look at the receivers. They lost their starting receivers. Kenny Golladay, he's gone, and then you look around as well as, Marvin Jones. He's not coming back to that locker room anymore. So the offense just depleted, honestly. Offensive line still needs a lot of work. Swift, he gets hurt a lot. So Detroit's got I think Detroit is going to be probably the team that ends up with the first pick of the upcoming draft. Either of them or Houston. I've got one of those two teams. Those are my early projections. Obviously, once the regular season starts, guys, that'll be the best way to really evaluate who's really the worst roster, honestly. But, just spitballing right now, those are the two teams that come to mind for me when I think of that. I think the Falcons, they have potential on their roster to where when I say potential, I mean they're capable of, a couple games that they can push it down to the wire or something like that. They don't have Julio Jones, but heck, when you have Julio Jones, sometimes he gets hurt and you end up missing him for stretches. And so Atlanta's, I think Atlanta's, I'm not saying that they're going to be, a 500 ball team or nothing like that, but I don't think they'll have the first pick of the draft next year. Let's see. Meanwhile, Trubisky's out there. He throws. Of course, they're going to let him throw. Of course. Let's see. Mike says that Dawson Knox in Buffalo is called Dawson Drops. That is funny. That's the first time that I have heard that one. Dawson Drops. I will tell you this, though. I will say this, Mike. I believe you're there because I know in fantasy football, and yes, I like to throw in some fantasy football references. I was a part of a 14-team league last year. This year, we're going to be 16 league. I know most teams don't do 16, but this year, we're going to be 16 because there's just a lot of interest and a lot of guys playing. But nobody wanted to pick up Dawson Knox last year. Like, we would look all around him and stuff. Like, he would not get picked up. And this was in a league that was desperate, to find tight ends, especially since a lot of guys just did not pick up tight ends early enough in the fantasy draft last year or even at all. And so, but he did not get picked up. I don't think not one time by anybody last year in our fantasy league. So that goes to show where he stood. Let's see. Adashak says the Texans are really bad too, especially if they lose Watson. At this point, the whole Watson situation, obviously I'm not going to comment, a lot on that, but yeah, I wish we just knew for sure what was going to happen with that situation. Obviously it looks like Tyrod Taylor's going to be the starting quarterback come week 1, but there's a lot of different scenarios that could really play out here. And so, there's a lot of things that we still need to find some answers out on. And so hopefully we get those answers sooner rather than later. Let's see. Lewis says that Nagy better save Dalton from getting booed out of the stadium. I'm really surprised that he isn't being booed out already. For real. Especially with the Bears knowing what they have behind him and the future of this team. I get it. You want to make him wait, but you only can justify making Justin Fields wait if your current quarterback is out there performing at a high enough level to justify it. Otherwise, it can get bad. So good thing for Dalton. He threw that touchdown there. That's going to bode well. But, yeah, they need to see more positive drives for sure. Because Bear fans do not want to be down 28. Although with that defense, they will not be down like that. But if Dalton's just, going 3 and out a lot, then, yeah, that could put the defense in a bad situation. Let's see. Adashak says that after 2018, I really thought Mitch was going to be the answer to – oh, man, that's tough right there, man. Let us take a moment of silent meditation there for poor Azashak there when it comes to just believing in Mitchell Trubisky to be the guy. That was tough. And then it hurts to see all the other quarterbacks that was drafted after him. I know that pain. I do. Believe me, as a Patriots fan, you look at, we drafted N'Keal Harry, and you look at every receiver, well, not every receiver, but most of the receivers that was taken after him. And I'm like, man, we could have really used someone like, I believe A.J. Brown or something like that. We could have really used a lot of those other receivers that ended up getting drafted later on right after us, but we ended up taking N'Keal Harry, and it's not working out so far. And I believe that they said for the N'Keal Harry in terms of his injury that we're looking at about a 4-week time frame for him. So, yeah, that means no trades are going to be going down while he's hurt. So I know he wanted to leave the Patriots. But, yeah. Let's see. Mike says, anyone who says they knew Mahomes was that good is a bold-faced liar. I got you, Mike. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, like I said before, yeah, I was high on Deshaun Watson in that one. I thought he should have been the first selection there. But nobody would have honestly known what Mahomes had. I don't know if Texas Tech fans, just diehard Texas Tech fans, other than the fact that he played for Texas Tech, so maybe they would have taken him because he went to Texas Tech. But in terms of just, what he's doing now, no, I can't Nah, I don't think so. I probably would have thought that there's a good opportunity that he could have probably been throwing a lot of turnovers, especially from what we were used to seeing from traditional passers at the time of that draft. We did not see a lot of too many, mobile quarterbacks or quarterbacks that did creative, crazy looking passes and stuff. Like I'm talking about like off the back foot, or side passes and, stuff like that Mahomes does all the time. We didn't see that. That wasn't common. And we were under the impression that that's not something that could work at the NFL level on a consistent basis. So, but yeah. Let's see. As Chuck says, true. A lot of people hated that pick for Kansas City when it was first made. Yeah, absolutely. Like, because they did not understand what Andy Reid saw. And so that's why when you see picks that everybody's like, what is going on? Why did that pick happen? A lot of the times, well, I'm not going to say a lot of times. Sometimes, the coach actually knows what he's doing, especially a guy like Andy Reid. I mean, Andy Reid, even before he won the Super Bowl, he was a highly, highly respected head coach because this man, he knows football. You think about what he did with the Eagles, even before coming to Kansas City. Donovan McNabb making it to the NFC Championship game 4 years straight. Then to get to the Super Bowl, so close to winning the Super Bowl until he fell short to the New England Patriots, my team, by the way. But yeah, and so he fell just short of being able to get a Super Bowl. Then the whole Terrell Owens situation, him and Donovan McNabb, unfortunately that didn't play out to where they were able to continue the success that they saw prior to that. But then he went to Kansas City. Alex Smith, Alex Smith was a good quarterback. Now, Alex Smith is the type of quarterback, or what he was at that time, that version of Alex Smith was the perfect quarterback to have a guy sitting behind and learning from Alex Smith and the decisions that he made, someone that did use his legs on occasion, but obviously good passer. We saw what he did towards the tail end of his time in San Francisco, because early on it was very rough, but they didn't have a lot of weapons around him. But when they started getting weapons and stuff, he did good until he wasn't the man anymore, and so forth. Let's see. Mike says they got Trey Wright at cornerback, but that's it. And so, yeah, Trey Wright, he's a very good cornerback there. But you're right. You need more than just one cornerback for sure. So we'll see if somebody else will be able to step up and take that next leap this upcoming season. But yeah, and that's one thing. If you have a good shutdown corner, it always helps to have that second corner who's good at, like, that's going to rise when the ball keeps, being thrown in his direction, because quite sure you have to know if you've got a star corner on the other side, that means they're going to target you more times than not. So you got to be able to make those plays, and be able to anticipate passes correctly and get turnovers. That's how guys, I think of a J.C. Jackson and how he's able to create a lot of turnovers because he benefits from being on the opposite side of Stephon Gilmore. So definitely understand that. Meanwhile, it's going to be 4th down here, and Andy Dalton gets a 9-yard completion. We've got about 2 minutes and 22 seconds on the clock. Andy Dalton's looking like they're going to try to go for it. I mean, yeah, shoot. You might as well go for it. I mean, because Buffalo's been almost at a disrespectful rate going for 2 after touchdowns. So you might as well go ahead and try to get the 1st down here. You've got 8 yards to do it. So Andy Dalton knows it's 4th down, so you better not throw something that's shorter than about 6 yards at the very least with a chance to get the first. You better not do a check down here. The fans do not want to see that. They want to see him go out there and get the first. Let's see. Adishak says that Wallace is a very inconsistent guy for Buffalo. One game, he's really solid, and the next, he's getting cooked. And so, yeah, like how you said that, getting cooked back there. But yeah, consistency is going to be the key. But Buffalo, they've got a tremendous amount of talent. They really do. And so my questions when it comes to the AFC East, and so you guys can let me know how you feel about it as well. But I'm highly concerned. The more I think about it for Tua Tagovailoa, I'm highly concerned for him when it comes to the Dolphins. I mean, the last game that we saw him in regular season, it looked bad. Like, it looked real bad. He's not going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick this time to come in and save him. And so, yeah, I'm worried about Tua Tagovailoa, and not just playing wise. I mean, we know the amount of injuries that he had at the college level. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for, that because the offensive line from Miami, like, they don't have a top 10 offensive line by any means. And I'm saying it as nicely as I can, guys. But, yeah, to be able to protect Tua, to give Tua time for Tua to make reads, and then Tua to be able to make the proper reads under pressure and duress and stuff, and then taking constant hits as that stuff, continues to add up and stuff. And, I mean, they don't have a running back that, can just take over the game or anything like that. So, it'll be interesting to see how Miami does in that one, and then yeah, so that is one concern that I'm looking at for Miami. I know a lot of teams are saying that Miami's going to be a playoff team this year, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I really need to see how they're going to do this upcoming season, especially at the quarterback position. That's going to be so important for them. And in the division that they're in, if they don't get the quarterback play that they need, then yeah, that opens the door for a team like the Patriots, to come in there and, swoop that second spot that Miami had last year, that I still believe either way, New England's going to be a higher seed. But I can certainly understand those who believe that the Dolphins would be higher than the Patriots. But I think the Patriots would end up the season with a better record, or at least higher in the division standings than Miami when it's all said and done. But I'm looking forward to definitely streaming all of those primetime games in the regular season. Like, I know that Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, you guys can count on that. I want to say Sunday Night Football as well. But, I got to see how things work out. But most likely it'll be Sunday Night Football as well. I'm going to do probably Saturday Night Football in terms of just Saturday streaming those games for those nighttime games as well. Just looking at, how that's going to look. And then obviously as we get closer to when some college basketball kicks in, when the NBA kicks in, stuff like that, I'll start to sprinkle some of those in. But Monday night and Thursday night football games, those will be a lot throughout the duration of the season until they're no longer there. But by then, we'll be focusing on playoffs and stuff. But it's going to be a fun journey, guys. And I'm definitely going to enjoy having it with you guys. Definitely. So do make sure, if you haven't already, that you guys do consider subscribing to the channel. Anybody that's watching the stream, best way that you'll be able to stay up to date with all kinds of NFL, NBA content, as well as college sports, and see these live streams as they happen and be a part of the conversations. Do join the chat here and let me know your thoughts as well. Meanwhile, Andy Dalton, what an ugly looking pass that was. Was that a pass or a fumble? He got rocked back there in the pocket. Like, I'm not going to lie, he got rocked. Okay, so that was a fumble. That honestly looked like a Madden glitch. I'm not going to lie. That pass looked like a Madden glitch right there. So let's see. Lewis says the Bears are looking like them Vikings last week. Don't say that about the Bears, but we do not want this game to take that direction at all, to be that one-sided at all. Mike says, I would play Jamarcus Russell. Ooh. Wow, Mike, I can't say that I would take that route. Like, I can't say that. I can't say that. But I get the point you're making there. But I can't say I would take Jamarcus Russell over Andy Dalton. I cannot say that with good conscience. There are people right now, I'll say in Las Vegas, but really down there in Oakland, that'll never let that go. They paid that man all that money. He's the reason why the NFL had to reduce paying quarterbacks, paying rookies that much money coming out of the draft. He played a big role in that. A big role in that. That was funny. Let's see. Mike says the Jets have on the top 3 terrible roster. Is Darnold ruined? That is a very good question. If the Sports Blitz was still on, I'm sure that he'd be able to answer that as well. But I will say, meanwhile, Buffalo is still driving the ball. What a nice pass that was. But I think that Sam Darnold, at this point, it's to the point where I think his ceiling is not as high anymore as it was coming out of the draft. But I still think that Sam Darnold can become a top 20 quarterback. He's someone, and given what they have in Carolina, Christian McCaffrey, I know last year he was hurt for most of the season, but having him in the backfield, that's huge for him because he's never had a running back whatsoever to help him out, believe me, at all with the Jets. And so having a guy like C-Mac that you can throw those easy short passes to, give it to him in space, and then let C-Mac do the rest, that's going to be very big for helping Sam Darnold and to build his confidence and make sure he doesn't have to try to do too much. Because Sam Darnold, throughout his career, he's always been a guy that's been behind the chains, you can say. Like, he's always someone that's trying to catch up. His Jets are getting beat by 20, getting beat by 30. So he's out there just having to throw it. No running game whatsoever. So, but now he's going to be in a different situation. You look at the receivers they've got, obviously reconnecting with Robbie Anderson. There's going to be some chemistry there. But then you add, guys like DJ Moore. So he's going to be in a much better situation. And I think that's going to prove for him to be a top 20 quarterback. I think we're going to see the best version of Sam Darnold that we've seen yet. I personally cannot sit here and say I know what that's going to look like in terms of a touchdown interception ratio. But I can say that I think statistically speaking, we're going to see the best version of Sam Darnold that we've seen yet. So I don't think that he's ruined, But I think he got out just in time because I think another season or two down there in New York, he'd have been ruined to the point of no return. Meanwhile, it's 3rd and 3, and we can only hope that the Bears are able to stop this madness. And incomplete. Incomplete. I wonder if Buffalo is going to try to go for this here because they've seen them and trying to just go for it. Let's see. Adashak says that the Vikings game was awful. The Vikings commentators were hilarious that game. They sounded so disappointed. Bruh, I was super disappointed. And it all started with what was that guy from Washington that started the game for Minnesota? I can't think of his name right now. Dang it, I know his name too. I can't think of it right now. But the guy who came in and threw that, who started the game for the Vikings, when he threw that pick six to Patrick Surtain Jr., the second, that set the Vikings up for failure the rest of the day. There are some things that you just don't recover from, and they did not recover from that at all. But they were disappointed. I felt really bad for Kellen Mond when he got in the game because I feel like of all the rookie quarterbacks, he had the worst opportunity in terms of the offensive line did not block at all. Like I saw this man try to do a play action fake, and before he can fake it to the running back, defensive end is already behind him, hitting him before he can even hand it to the running back or fake it to the running back. So Kellen Mond, he was going through it out there in that Minnesota game. I just felt so bad for him. He's much better than what he looked like out there because the offensive line didn't give him an opportunity to really do anything. Lewis says that Dalton makes me miss Eric Kramer. You guys are really harsh on the starting quarterback of the Bears, guys. He's the starting quarterback, guys. Give him some love. Let's see. Adashak says that I suppose this is revenge for that game versus Buffalo in 2018. The defense in that game was incredible. And so, it is the preseason, so we're going to, hold off on, any type of revenge. Believe me, because me being a Patriots fan, anytime that we beat the Giants, it doesn't feel the same because it's not on the biggest stage, and so that's one thing right there that, revenge is only good if it's equal or almost equal to what happened the first time. And so, but yeah, if preseason counted, then heck yeah, this would be the best type of revenge. No, I tell you what is revenge. What's revenge is that Matt Nagy is keeping Andy Dalton out there so long. That is the best revenge that anybody from the Bills organization can do. Have Matt Nagy keep in Andy Dalton this long. That's how you really hurt the fan base right now. Because, we've seen enough, but obviously with 40-something seconds at this point, you might as well let Andy Dalton finish. We know Justin Fields going to come in the second half. But the fact that this game is 31-6 right now, that means we're going to see a lot of Justin Fields having to pass the ball at this point because this is just a deficit, a real big deficit here. Let's see. Mike says, who's better, tight end, Sweeney, Knox, Hollister, or Kudra? That's a very good question. It depends on what you're looking for. And for Buffalo, since Buffalo's looking to pass, I still think that at this point, I probably would have to say, just looking at it, I can say that I really like Hollister. I don't think he should be tight end one, but I do think when you line up on like two tight end sets, that he's going to be perhaps the biggest name that you're probably going to see in terms of just catching the ball, I think, out there, like just from the tight end position. So if you're looking to obviously for third downs and stuff, Hollister's your guy. Now, if you're talking about blocking tight end and stuff like that, then you're going to probably look elsewhere. And I think Knox is still going to get his opportunities. But I think Hollister, when it's all said and done, and you're looking at the stats, he's going to have the best stats. And by stats, I'm talking about receptions and stuff. So I think Hollister is going to be that guy for Buffalo. And at some point, I do think they'll transition to using him even more in the offense, So, yeah, Hollister is going to be my early pick. Let's see. Let's see. Please tell me, is any Hollister or McKee Stevenson's plays? Well, yeah. Well, in terms of are we talking about like just in the regular season? Hold on. Please tell me, is any Hollister or well, yeah, I'll need some clarification on that one there, but yeah, let's just take this to halftime, guys. Let's just take this to halftime. This is getting tough to watch, guys. I'll tell you what, though, Matt Nagy did not do Andy Dalton any favors by having him stay out there this entire half. You've got to set guys up for success. he did about as much of a favor for Andy Dalton in this game as Urban Meyer did for Tim Tebow by putting him out there at tight end and stuff like that, where he's already short, already slower than probably most tight ends at age 34, never played the position before, and asking him to go out there and block in a preseason game. Now this man is on so many memes and stuff because you put him in a worse situation that he wasn't going to be able to succeed at. You should have put him at a different type of role, honestly, than tight end, to where you could have utilized him in some creative ways. That probably would have justified it more, but you put him at tight end, set him up for failure. So, but that's a whole different scenario right there. Let's see, 3rd and 12, Dalton throws it, and it's intercepted. Intercepted. Terrible pass. Just flat out terrible. That's your starting quarterback, Bears fans. Well, Andy Dalton, he seems to be smiling about that play for some reason. I don't see nothing funny. He's smiling about that play. Not sure if I had this up already or not, but so let's see. Yeah, Josh McCown was great for us when he played. He would have beaten the Packers if we had him as Cutler's backup that year. We made the NFC Championship. Yeah, I mean, Josh McCown, he was really good that year, So, like, that had to be perhaps his best season that he put together. It was the perfect system for him. And, yeah, I was just heartbroken for him when that happened. Because, I mean, you look throughout the history of the NFL, I'll go back to the Patriots' first Super Bowl when Tom Brady led now, obviously, we're talking about the Super Bowl, but still, Tom Brady led the Patriots to the Super Bowl, even though the defense was huge there. Drew Bledsoe did win the AFC Championship game for the Patriots, but ultimately Bill Belichick was like, this is the guy who got us here, so we're going to continue to ride the hot hand here. So he went to Tom Brady, and ever since then, history's never remained the same. Now, imagine if Bill Belichick would have started Drew Bledsoe at that point in time. We probably would have never heard of Tom Brady, or if we did, it would have been at a lower success level of what we've seen now. Let's see. Mike says, what happened to Cam? He was amazing. Now he fell off. Is it the Pats' offensive line? That's a very good question. On the offensive line for the Patriots, they're better run blockers than they are in terms of just pass blocking, or at least, just looking at from what I've seen, obviously in the preseason and then last season as well. But the biggest problem right now when it came to Cam Newton was a series of factors. And as a Patriots fan, I'll do my best to try to explain it. Meanwhile, Buffalo adds another 3 points here. Come on, Buffalo. There's no need for that. But anyways, so Cam Newton, obviously in Carolina, we know Cam Newton, he was a guy that liked to run the ball a lot, his passes. Even the year that he was having all that success and stuff, and passing the ball, Cam Newton has never had a great wide receiver. Now, he's had, a great Greg Olsen at tight end. He has Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, so he was able to utilize those guys. He had one good year that he did, have Steve Smith his rookie year, and that was perhaps, his best passer season that year as a rookie when he had Steve Smith. But other than that, he really just never had a big-time receiver. They drafted Calvin Benjamin. I mean, we see what's going on with him right now. He tried to make a comeback as a tight end. That did not work out. But, yeah, Calvin Benjamin gained a lot of weight. He wasn't the guy that we thought he was going to be coming out of Florida State. I was really high on Calvin Benjamin. I thought he was going to be a very great wide receiver. But after that, Carolina, they had guys like Ted Ginn Jr. And if you look at Ted Ginn Jr. throughout his career, that was when it really started to take off in terms of the peak of his career. But in terms of traditional type of receivers, other than just a downfield threat, no, Cam Newton has not had that. He came to the Patriots roster that, quite frankly, I knew Tom Brady was going to leave because I looked at the weapons that we had or what we didn't have. And outside of Julian Edelman, you want to talk about what Tom Brady left in New England? Yeah, N'Keal Harry, he was not happy with N'Keal Harry, especially since N'Keal Harry missed a lot of the season and wasn't making the reads to where Tom Brady knew where he was going to be, so he wouldn't even throw to him. And then the receivers that New England had. And then you look at last year. I mean, guys, who did New England have at wide receiver that's supposed to get separation? They talk about how Cam, when he threw the ball last year, he really just, was like, I think whatever stat they were throwing out there about, that his accuracy with the ball. Well, I'm going to tell you this. If I'm playing quarterback and my receiver is being guarded like a glove by every defensive back in the league, yeah, I'm not going to throw those passes on target, because on target means intercepted. So, yeah, there's not much he really could do. And then he would still have to come in, learn the playbook, because they brought him in super late. No offseason, no preseason. And he came out and did good up until he got COVID. And we know COVID can affect different people different ways. and then you add, the injuries that he had in the past that did play a role as well. All of that stuff added up. We had no tight ends. You could have took 2 plastic chairs and lined them up at tight end, and that's the same production you would have got last year from the tight end position for the New England Patriots as what we got with the guys we had out there last year. Hate to say it as a Pats fan, but those were the worst pair of tight ends I ever saw out there, I think, in the league in general. I cannot think of a tight end room that was worse than what New England brought out there last year. So you add no tight ends, little to small receivers. I mean, Myers, he became a positive, and then we had some other guys, some scrappy guys and stuff that we just put out there at receiver and stuff, but we really had nobody at wide receiver, no tight ends. Offensive line was suspect at best sometimes when it came to that. And plus the opt-outs on defense, so defense wasn't able to carry the load. And so, that is what really put Cam Newton. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's why he went from amazing to where he is now, but in terms of what happened last year with the Patriots, I can speak to that, and that is what played in terms of him just not being anything better than what we were like. Because we know we're not going to see the Cam Newton of old. Those days are gone, and even those days, you probably wouldn't expect that with the Patriots. But in terms of just being decent, that's why he wasn't decent last year. I think he can be decent if surrounded with the proper amount of weapons. Let's see. Addersack says that he thinks injuries really derailed his career, and he just can't play like he used to play. It's really sad. Injuries do play a role. Now, you guys got to remember when he was in Carolina and then they would show quarterbacks that were hit the most throughout the entire league. Cam Newton by far led that category in terms of guys that were hit the most. And we saw the hits that Cam Newton took. Those were not just regular quarterback hits. They were letting guys really hit Cam Newton and all like that. And then on top of that, we know Cam Newton, when he scores, he likes to celebrate. So guys would hit him even harder. They hated the fact that he would celebrate, so they hit him even harder than most quarterbacks. He got hit the most. I think Andrew Luck was second in terms of the most hits, if I'm not mistaken, during that time frame, back when Cam was like towards his peak and stuff. And you see what happened with Andrew Luck. He got hit so much that he just called it quits. He's like, you don't feel the same and stuff. Like, he was having blood come out and stuff. It was very, very sad to see. But hits do take a toll on quarterbacks. Honestly, it really does. Let's see. Mike says, golf fell off quick. Golf fell off super quick. I mean, the only reason why he led the Rams to the Super Bowl, it had a lot to do with Todd Gurley. If you got Todd Gurley in the backfield, that's going to help you out. Well, the old Todd Gurley, I should say. Let me quickly clarify that. My fantasy team last year will help me remember that last year's Todd Gurley was not the same. But the Todd Gurley that we saw, coming out of UGA and all like that, and even with the Rams, Todd Gurley was a beast. And so when Goff had him in the backfield, that's what really helped him, But yeah, that's what that was. I was excited for Cam Akers and the Rams, but obviously Cam being out for the year, oh man, that's really tough for him. So I was saddened about that. Let's see. Mike says that he feels like the Mac brothers is on the roster because his Mac brother is on the roster because his brother demands it. Hey, sometimes that's the case. You look at, the NBA with Giannis and stuff like that, you can make a similar case, with that. But, Mac, it's all about keeping Mac happy. And you know what? I will say this about, when John Gruden took over the Raiders, there was so much hype, there. And then he ran away Khalil Mack. He ran away Amari Cooper and all like that. And so, and now the defense is, they really miss Mac, but he's really good for the Bears. And so if he wants his brother there, then, hey, we'll do that to make him happy. You see what Green Bay's doing in terms of trying to make Aaron Rodgers happy. So I think they can afford one guy. Mike says that Harry's a hot mess. It really amazes me how N'Keal Harry has not, just really performed at a high level. I assume you're talking about N'Keal Harry, but at the same time, he wants to be traded. He wants the ball more, but every time he's on the ball, he doesn't do anything. So, but yeah, there you go. Let's see. Mike says that Tyrod is elusive, but the Texans O-line is not good enough for most high school teams. This man said high school teams, guys. That's a shot. If ever a shot there was, that is a shot. And I'll go ahead and take this time to thank everybody that is watching the stream as we're currently, at the halftime right now. I know that the score says 34-6, but for those of you that are still here, you're going to be rewarded with Justin Fields coming in the second half. And believe me, we really need that. Would it be something, guys, if Justin Fields could lead a comeback? Would that not be entertaining if he led this team all the way back to win this game. Would that not be entertaining, guys? But with that being said, though, I really appreciate everybody that's coming in for this stream. Be sure that if you haven't already, that you guys do subscribe so that way you guys will be notified about future streams as well as other sport contents that I will produce as well. So make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe. And that's the best way to help the channel grow. When you like the video, it helps others be able to see the video because YouTube will start to promote the videos that has the most likes and stuff and shares and all of that thing. So that goes a long way. Subscribing definitely helps you guys stay up to date with a lot of content and things of that sort. But with that being said, let's get back to these great conversations. But yeah, Tyrod Taylor. Let's see. Ajay Shaq says that he feels bad for Taylor and hopes that he starts for Watson if Watson leaves. I will say this about Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor and his career, you want to talk about a story that has really just been one that's been very tough, but he continues to bounce back. I mean, you guys remember, I'm trying to think his first opportunity, but I'll start back, obviously, when he was, in Buffalo for a good minute. And then after Buffalo, I believe he went to, was his next stop in Cleveland. I know he was there with Baker Mayfield, was a rookie, and he was a starting quarterback, but then, he gets banged up. Baker Mayfield comes in, and all of a sudden it's Baker Mayfield's team. And so, but he was great about that, a great sport. He went ahead, supported that team. Then the next year gets another opportunity, I believe, with the Chargers recently. We saw what he did there. And then he got there. The way he got hurt, though, by the doctors, the guy that's supposed to help you, ends up costing him the starting job and an opportunity with the Chargers. That was really tough for him. But I will say this, though, every rookie quarterback that seems to come in after Tyrod Taylor seems to do really good. So maybe for the Houston Texans, just saying, history has shown, maybe for the Houston Texans, if they start Tyrod and then they put in Davis Mills at some point in the season, maybe Davis might go out there and have a pretty good year. I mean, I know a lot of people forget that he was, drafted, but hey, Davis Mills, that's someone that a lot of people, they were liking, leading up to the draft, and his stock was starting to rise closer to the draft. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Mike says that after the 90s, the Bills had two exciting things, T.O. and Mario Williams. Hey, I remember Mario Williams, man. I mean, that man, he broke the bank. But yeah, I remember the whole T.O. signing thing. Did the Bills sign T.O.? Was that? I think that was right before he went to Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken, when T.O. was signed by the Buffalo Bills, right before he went to Cincinnati, I believe. But yeah, that was definitely a little different. Ajay Shaq says that T.O. with Buffalo was so weird. At that time, yeah, you can tell at that time that T.O. had realized that, they always say that when your production outdoes, any type of distractions, you'll continue to find homes and stuff. I mean, that was pretty evident when it came to Antonio Brown. The Steelers put up with a lot of the stuff that he did because of him being at his peak. But now his, reputation and stuff exceeds what he's doing on the field. Not saying that he can't still play at a high level, but teams aren't willing to give him that because of how things ended when he was down there with the Raiders and stuff. I mean, he really found a way to screw up a really nice contract that he had down there. And then with the Patriots and stuff, can't be doing that stuff. So that was a quick sign and exit. So after that, Tampa seems to be the only team that's willing to give this man a chance. And he wants more money, but he can't get it. But T.O., when he was at Buffalo, he was starting to realize, like, okay, maybe I, burnt a lot of bridges or either made a lot of people upset or, so he really tried to focus more so on football rather than be any type of distraction. But at that point, age was starting to catch up. He was still productive on the field, though. He was still productive there. He was still productive for Cincinnati. It's just teams had lost interest in giving him an opportunity. Let's see. Mike says, who would Tyrod throw to? That is the question, guys. Who exactly would he throw to out there? I mean, I know that, they drafted Nico Collins from Michigan, but he's was a draft pick. So Nico will have a great opportunity to go out there and shine. They still have, I know that they lost Will Fuller, and losing Will Fuller, I don't know how they let that happen, but I guess Will Fuller's like, look, I need to go to a team that's competitive. But they did, I'm trying to think. Brandon Cooks. If Brandon Cooks can stay healthy, that's the only real veteran type of receiver that they really have that they can rely upon. So there you go. Let's see. Ajay Shaq says, shoot, other than Brandon Cooks, there you go. I just mentioned Brandon Cooks. I don't know who, but even with Brandon Cooks, even with him, my thing about Brandon Cooks is that he seems to have those type of injuries that really either linger or they're out for, like, I know concussions has been something for him. I remember in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, he got injured very early for the Patriots in that Super Bowl there. But Brandon Cooks, he's a very good receiver, and if he can be healthy, that's someone that can really contribute. But they're going to need another guy, because if you're going to double team Brandon Cooks, because who else are you going to guard? So they're probably going to see a lot of double teams and stuff. So yeah, they're going to need for Nico to have a big year as a rookie, and then a couple other guys to stand up. They still got, Kiki on the team, so he's someone that, he'll probably get them about 40 to 60 receptions, depending on the type of year that he has, I think. But yeah, they definitely don't have the names that jump out at you. Believe that. See, Mike said, I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Really do. I mean, you guys, like, I really appreciate you guys and all. Like, I appreciate all of my subscribers, but especially you guys that are here in the chat section. I mean, you guys really make this stream so amazing. Can you imagine it just being me here talking by myself about a game that's 34-6? Just over here, all you would hear me saying is like, it's time to put in Justin Fields. It's time to put in Justin Fields. That's the only thing I'd be able to say. So I really appreciate you guys so much for being a part of this stream. It really means a lot. And I'm really excited to have you guys, especially when the regular season kicks in. That's going to be fun. And I don't know if you guys, follow college football as well, but I plan on streaming the first college football game that's going to come on, I think next week, Saturday. I think it's going to be the Fighting Illini versus, is it Nebraska? I think that, I know it's two big, it might be Rutgers actually. It's two Big Ten teams going at it. And so I'll be streaming that one as well. But of course, I'll be streaming more preseason games, even before then. But yeah, appreciate that. I appreciate it. Hey, I mean, football is my sport. Now, you get me with basketball, there might be a little bit of gaps in terms of knowledge, like from here and there. And so I'm making sure that this year I pay even more attention, so that way I can, get fully caught up in terms of everything. But football is definitely my go-to sport. It's where all of my knowledge is. I've been watching football going back to the 2002 season, towards the tail end of the 2002 season. But I've really been studying a lot of football, like just a lot, because football history is very fascinating to me. Very fascinating. Let's see. Mike says to rank the Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions, please. Okay, so I'll go ahead and oblige. I think that the Packers, of course, I think that they're going to go ahead and win the division, especially what I'm seeing right now from Andy Dalton. That doesn't seem too good. And then when I look at the Vikings, if you'd have asked me early on in the season, I'm not going to lie, I was thinking that the Vikings were going to be – I think that the Vikings and the Bears were going to be at the same record. It's just going to be a matter of how both teams do within the division, most likely against each other. But from what I'm seeing lately, I think that the Vikings may have some things going on in terms of just I don't think the Vikings are really happy right now with Kirk Cousins. I know the whole, COVID thing, that, the whole vaccine thing, that's a big – that's been blown up extremely there. But in terms of the organization supporting him, I know that they wanted to trade up and get Justin Fields. They don't believe in him. I do like the Vikings roster. I still think that it's capable, that they can compete for a seventh, that seventh spot in the playoffs. But I've got the Bears going, finishing second, unless Andy Dalton ends up starting more than half the season. If he ends up starting more than half the season, then I've got the Vikings. So it's really up to the Bears and when they implement Justin Fields. And it's going to be up to Matt Nagy. But right now, I'll go ahead and say that Matt Nagy's not going to do the stupid thing. So I'm going to say that the Bears finish second, Vikings finish third, Lions finish fourth. I've got a lock for the Lions down there in fourth place. That's a lock. So that's a hard lock right there. Let's see. Mike says, Jamarcus Russell made a great point about incentives. He got the money. Why not, child? What got me was a story that they told about Jamarcus Russell, where the Raiders sent him a blank film tape and told him to watch it. And then he showed up the next day and they asked him, did he watch it? And he was like, yeah, he watched the film. And they sent him a blank film on purpose to see if he would actually watch it. So that was crazy. I mean, I remember because I was trying to think of, does anybody recall Jamarcus Russell doing anything at LSU other than, I remember leading up to it, they talked about his arm strength, how he was able to throw a 60-yard pass by just being on his knees and still throwing 60 yards and stuff like that. I remember hearing that type of stuff. But just in terms of at LSU, was he not splitting time with Matt Flynn, I think, at that time at LSU, if I'm not mistaken? even leading up to getting drafted like that. I mean, we almost saw that mistake happen with Cardale Jones. I'm an Ohio State guy, but when I saw people talking about Cardale Jones being drafted potentially in the first round, I was like, wait a minute now. Like, I'm a Buckeyes fan, and I thought Cardale did great, but I was like, we need to see more than just that. Now, he ended up being drafted, I think, in the 5th round, if I'm not mistaken. I know he would spend some time on Buffalo. I'm not sure if Buffalo's a team that took him or if it was the Chargers, one of those two teams. But I do know that, they did the right thing when he came back another year, and they just let him they realized that he did not have what it took at the NFL level because he wasn't a student of the game, is what I'm saying. Guys like, Cardale Jones, Jamarcus Russell, they didn't do themselves any favor because they did not want to be, I guess you can say, student of the games. And so ultimately that's what hurt him. But yeah, Jamarcus Russell, he showed why you don't pay a guy money in terms of just work ethic and stuff and giving up. And then Sam Bradford showed that injuries do happen. So therefore, you need to make sure that these guys are going to go out there and perform before you do that. So both of those two did not do any favors for anybody that's trying to make bank coming out of the draft. Mike says he wonders if Rizzo might be good. That would be crazy if the Bills had some pass rush. Hey, I tell you what, those defensive ends right there that came, I believe from I think he came from, was it Miami? Yeah, they were pretty. They're going to be pretty good. I think that especially once they hit around year 2, year 3, I think they're going to continue to get better. But I do think that he's going to be a good asset, and he's going to be someone that's going to make you proud of those Bills this upcoming season. But I think he's going to continue to get better in time. Let's see. Lewis says, did anybody know if Trubisky's going to throw a victory party? Hey, I'm pretty sure he's got some family and friends out there, in Chicago that he's going to definitely go party with. Now, it won't look anything like a Rob Gronkowski throwing party or anything like that, but he's definitely going to throw a party. I mean, come on now. Come on now. This was a major win for him, even if it was small. Let's see. Adeshek says, for sure. He for sure is. This is the biggest end game of his whole career. And there you have it, guys. And let's see. The quarterback right now is Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm, I remember with the whole, being drafted out of Georgia for the Bills and stuff. So yeah, Jake Fromm, he's the 3rd string quarterback here. He had some time to develop. Whenever I think of Jake Fromm, I always think of Jacob Eason because he took Jacob Eason's job. And from what I've seen in the preseason so far of Jacob Eason down there with the Indianapolis Colts, he looked pretty good when he had some time to throw the ball. I know they're going to start Sam Ehlinger. Their next preseason game, they're really going to look at him. I mean, he's agile, I'll say that. But I am a huge fan of what Jacob Eason has done in the preseason. I think that if Carson Wentz does miss the game, he deserves an opportunity to go out there. But speaking of opportunity, we're going to get the opportunity to finally see Justin Fields. So Justin Fields, go out there your first drive and lead the Bears to a touchdown. Save this preseason game. If he can go out there on his first 2-3 drives and get touchdowns, at least 2 of his first 3 drives, he can save this preseason game. So please do it. If not for the Bears, do it for the stream. Let's see. Mike says the Buccaneers found a way to get better. Running back bring back some good additions. Hey, the Buccaneers, whenever you have an opportunity to bring guys back, and then guys, they basically understood for Tampa Bay, like they could have left and made more money, especially someone, like I know that them franchise tagging a guy like Chris Godwin, so it wasn't really too much his choice. But the other guys, they could have went out there and really broke the bank. But, a lot of these guys, they was like, what? We want to go ahead and run it back, because they got a chance to play with the GOAT and Tom Brady. And so for them, that was enough. And that's really a lot of what I know the last stream that we talked about in terms of just being able to have a team where they really trust so much, and whether it be your quarterback, whether it be the head coach, the organization, that they believe that you've set them up in a situation where they can win a Super Bowl. So then guys are willing to take less in those scenarios. I mean, I know Azure Shaq, right here just said, the Buccaneers are the Lakers of the NFL, but that's very true because you've got the Lakers out there, a lot of guys went out there and took tremendous pay cuts just to be a part of something special, and I get it. That's where we're at right now in today's NBA. Everybody wants to, team up, join together. I'm a Lakers fan, but the vintage, my favorite Laker teams are those that I saw personally with, Kobe and Shaq, or either some of those, previous years. You've got your teams led by Magic, all of those teams. But yeah, I love the whole Kobe and Shaq having a duo where you have two dominant forces, and then everybody else just, complements those guys. And then every other team that you play, they have a star that represents their city. That was my personal preference there. But the game has changed, so I've adapted to that. And so these guys, they won a championship. I want so badly for Carmelo Anthony to get a chip. I wanted one for Chris Paul, but he's not a Laker, so I can't help him with that. He had his opportunity last year. I wanted for him to get it so bad. He didn't get it, but hey, at least we can do is get one for Carmelo Anthony. I remember when Tracy McGrady was with the Spurs towards the very end of his career. He was on the bench, but I really thought he was going to get a championship, and he thought so too, up until Ray Allen hit that shot, and then, yeah, things went crazy after that. But, yeah, Buccaneers, Lakers, same thing. Both loaded with a bulk load of talent, and for many people, believe that they're going to be championship contenders in their respective sports. Okay, and so we get to see Justin Fields go out there and get a completion. For Justin Fields, just take your time, go out there, run the offense. We know you had nothing to do with that 34-6 score that's up there right now. So just go out there and just make smart decisions. Don't try to force it too much. So this is a good opportunity for him to just go out there and show a poise and just do the little stuff, take it one play at a time. And King is back to the stream. Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back. Let's see. Mike says Buccaneers, Panthers, Falcons, Saints. Ooh, that is a good one right there. That is a good one. Because obviously, Buccaneers, they're going to be first. I think that's a lock. But I do think that the next three teams are a lot closer than a lot of people realize, honestly. I don't think the Falcons can contend for that second spot. I got the Falcons either third or fourth. But I'm really intrigued with how Carolina looks. I think they're going to be a sneaky team that a lot of people haven't paid attention to. But when I say sneaky in terms of, competing within the division with the Saints. Now, if the Saints, if they take the direction of Taysom Hill and stuff like that, then I think their ceiling is going to be lower. But if they go with Jameis Winston, and I hear that they're going to start him in their preseason game. So if they end up with Jameis Winston and then Mike Thomas is able to come back and stuff like that, I've got the Saints finishing second. And then after the Saints, I'm going to go ahead and say I've got the Carolina Panthers finishing third. And then I've got the Falcons finishing fourth, but I think the Falcons are going to be a lot more trouble than some people realize. Because, we know how the Falcons can be sometimes once Matt Ryan, once he gets hot. Matt Ryan is still there. He's still a good quarterback to have. There's a reason why they did not draft a quarterback, although I probably still would have drafted a quarterback just because for the future of the team, because you're not going to be making any championship runs over the next year or two, I don't think. But I get it. He's still a good starting quarterback. So, yeah, it'll be a fun one. But, yeah, that's what I've got. I've got Buccaneers, Saints, Panthers, Falcons. But the Panthers do have the potential to leapfrog the Saints if the Saints quarterback play turns out to be bad. Because who are they going to throw the ball to out there at wide receiver, right, for the Saints, at least until Michael Thomas comes back. And so there you go. But I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always fun ranking these teams. And definitely if you guys want to let me know in terms of, how you rank those divisions, we'll start with the NFC South as well. Let me know in the comment section as well. Let's see. Lewis says, do you still think we should show some love for Dalton? You guys can show some love for the fact that he's on the bench holding the clipboard right now. That seems to be where he needs to be this offseason. Andy Dalton, he can contribute to the team. It's just maybe his best contribution, and by maybe, most definitely, maybe his best contribution will be on the sideline because Justin Fields can certainly use that veteran leadership. Andy Dalton may not be able to go out there, but he still has the experience of an NFL quarterback. He's definitely had success, led some teams when he was in Cincinnati to the playoffs. So he can definitely be a great mentor to Justin Fields, And so hopefully that's what's going on behind the scenes, that he's coaching up Justin Fields and giving him advice and stuff like that. But, yeah. But I'm saying, he's your starting quarterback until he's not, So there you go. Matt Nagy is basically saying Dalton's the guy. Now, I guarantee you, if they ask Matt Nagy after the game, is Andy Dalton the guy? He's going to say, yep. They're going to be like, did you see enough to show you that Andy Dalton's the guy? He's going to say, yeah, I saw enough. And so I guarantee he's going to say that. Let's see. Addersack is like, who was Andy Dalton throwing the ball to? Did he forget he was on Chicago? I mean, I don't know. Maybe, that Bill uniform, that road uniform, maybe that was looking appealing to him. I don't know. Like, but yeah, I mean, Andy Dalton, other than that touchdown pass, and even then the wide receiver basically snagged the ball away from the defender in that touchdown catch right there. But yeah, Andy Dalton had a rough first half. I will say that. It was rough. He ended up going 11 of 17 for 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But yeah, I mean, the scoreboard reflects more of what we saw from Andy Dalton than what those numbers do, honestly, just going off of that. Let's see. Lewis says that touchdown Dalton threw was all the receiver making a great catch. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As I mentioned before, that is absolutely the truth. Does anybody here plan on drafting Andy Dalton in their fantasy football league? I know that answer, but that is the question. I wonder how many people out there are actually going to draft Andy Dalton in their fantasy league. They'd have to be in an extremely deep league, and even then, it'd have to be something that the computer drafted for them, probably. Let's see. Mike says, shout out Marquise Stevenson if he makes a play. If he makes okay, bet. Yeah, if he makes a play and I'm able to catch that, most definitely. Ooh, Mike says that Tim Couch was good. I've actually got a friend who was a huge fan of Tim Couch going back to his days in Kentucky and stuff. And yeah, Tim Couch was another example of a quarterback that, he definitely had the talent, but he wasn't able to reach his potential or anything like that throughout his time with the Browns there. But the Browns had went through so many quarterbacks. That's why I feel like they have to make sure that they give an extension for and you see right there, Justin Fields, he uses his legs on that one. But yeah, they absolutely have to give Baker Mayfield that extension. Now, it's not going to look anything near what Josh Allen got, nor should it do anything like that. But they have to make sure that they do secure him for the future, because they just had so many quarterbacks that in comparison to them, he's light years better than that. Oh, Mike says Tebow is better than Dalton. I cannot say that, but I will say this. In terms of pure passing, especially if we're talking about prime Andy Dalton, take prime Andy Dalton any day. The Dalton we're seeing right now, if we're comparing them to the Tebow that we're seeing right now, still take the Dalton right now. Just take my word for it. But if you're talking about prime Tebow in terms of that Broncos team and stuff, then especially since you've got Justin Fields behind and you just need a quarterback that's going to provide leadership and stuff, then I mean, I'm just saying, but no, it's still Andy Dalton. It's still Andy Dalton. I get what you did there, but it still would be Andy Dalton, because Tebow's just not, not the passer at all. He's an athlete, in my opinion. He's just an athlete. That's what he was, at Florida, more of that athlete. That's what I miss so much about that college football game that's no longer. They're going to be making a comeback to NCAA football, but back when Tebow was there, they should have had him listed as an athlete, but they did have that feature in the game where you could list the guy as an athlete, and that would have been the perfect position for Tim Tebow, an athlete rather than a quarterback. Let's see. Lewis says the next game we should see Fields run the first team offense. Yeah, since next game, because there's only 3 preseason games now, unless your team plays in the Hall of Fame game. And this year that was the Cowboys and Steelers. So there's only 3 preseason games. So I'd have to imagine that next time we'll see a good bit of Justin Fields, but a lot of with the second unit and stuff. And then after a while, you'll see the third string quarterback. But yeah, we won't see as much Andy Dalton next game. You best believe that. See, Abhishek says, hope so. He was electric last game. That he was. It's going to be really hard having to come back. Well, trying to play when you're down this much against a defense like the Bills, even though the backups, are in the game now, but still, the Bills, they've got a lot of talent there. We got you. Happens all the time. Let's see, 3rd and 16. Before we get to this, let me see. 3rd and 16. Justin Fields, he's looking, he throws it. All right, incomplete. So yeah, we'll be punting. The Bears will be punting the ball there. Let's see. Mike says, yeah, Calvin Benjamin, lock your fridge. He'd rather drop the ball than run into the end zone. Hey, yeah, Calvin Benjamin, man, I was very disappointed because this was a guy that I was very high upon. I mean, that championship catch that he had at Florida State, man, I thought that both him and Jameis Winston, although Jameis Winston, he can still save his career, but man, it was tough to see that happen to Calvin Benjamin. It really was because Cam Newton needed him in Carolina to be that number one receiver. And quite frankly, he couldn't make that commitment. And that's what it takes to be a professional athlete. That's why they pay you all that money, because there's a lot of things that take place to us as fans that we really don't get to see. The way you've got to take care of your body, the way you've got to determine, the proper stuff to put into your body and stuff. I mean, you go to doctors and stuff, and man, what a return here by Buffalo. And so he could go all the way. Touchdown, Bills. And yes, it's your boy Stevenson. So shout out to Stevenson here. There you go with the touchdown on the return. So, wow, what a play. That was 79 yards by Marquise Stevenson for the Buffalo Bills. And so as they show that replay, I mean, my man, he turned on the Jets. And yeah, it felt like the Bears were going in slow motion on that one. Man, what a return. Wow. Just like that. What a play right there. Really happy for him. That's a big play as we have a Bear that's walking off there. Hopefully this is nothing too serious, but it seems like it's more of possibly a hamstring or something. Doesn't seem like it'll be that serious, but yeah. Mike says that Harry is a bust. I feel like Harry for sure is a bust with the Patriots. I don't think that we have the scheme that would properly fit him. New England, aside from a guy like obviously Randy Moss, even Dante Stallworth when we had him, we just historically have had smaller receivers, and we, to have the type of play that he has, I feel like Harry could benefit a lot from being on a team, say like maybe even a team like the Bears, like learning from a guy like Allen Robinson, stuff like that. So, and then it would not cost a lot to acquire a guy like Harry. I mean, he's still really young in this league. He just and then having Cam Newton throwing the ball, I mean, that's not going to be the best combination for him. That doesn't put him in the best situation and stuff like that. And yeah, New England, they do excellent with veteran receivers or either drafting guys late in the draft. But in terms of drafting them in the first, second round, nope. Harry probably would be better off, I think, elsewhere. I think Harry could be the kind of guy that, on the right team, he probably could have about, say, 55 to 65 receptions if he had the targets to get that, and about 700-something yards and about 4 or 5 touchdown catches. I think he's capable of something like that, but it won't happen on the Patriots, though. It would have to be on a different team. Let's see. Mike says the Pats don't got any receiver of notes, do they? They really don't. Like, we really don't. Like, me being a Patriots fan, looking at the roster and stuff. I mean, Jacoby Myers, I like him, and he has shown in a couple games that, he can be good, but he's not a guy that's just going to go out there and beat a team's number one, receiver. He's just going to go out there, have a solid game. Then you've got, I mean, there's really no big name receivers and stuff, no big play receivers right now. I mean, we did pick up, Kendrick Bourne from the 49ers. And so that is my hope. The combination of him and Nelson Aguilar, that those two will be enough. But Nelson throughout his career, minus last year, has really struggled with a lot of drops. And so he's got that speed, but can he hold on to the ball? That's going to be something that I'm going to have to really watch there. And that's why I'm like, I wish that the Patriots were able to get one more receiver, but we'll have to see how that works out. But hopefully he'll be able to hold on to the ball similar to what he did last season. And then, Kendrick Bourne, that's definitely, I'm really banking on him a lot, We're going to need for him to really be special in this offense and be that 1,000-yard receiver for us. Let's see. Mike says, what weapons do the Pats have on D? Well, for me, I'll start with the secondary. Our starters, we don't have the depth at, I guess you could say, the back end, but I think our secondary is certainly one that I consider to be a strength. When you look at, Devin McCourty, he's still in the back. He's still in that secondary. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore, he's that lockdown corner, that number one guy. And so now that he's, he's out there practicing and stuff, so that's a good sign there. J.C. Jackson on the other side, Mr. Turnover, Mr. Interception himself. He does a great job of getting turnovers. The combination of those two at cornerbacks, those are strengths. The Patriots, they went out there and they really did a lot of work. Matthew Judon coming over from the Ravens, that was huge. Having him, that's going to be huge going after the pass rush. You look at some of the pieces that they brought in through the draft, a guy like Christian Bazemore in the second round from Alabama. That's someone that I have high hopes for. He was the best defensive tackle, the best interior lineman, I should say, in the draft. And so I was really excited to see the Patriots get him. Then the addition of bringing back Dante Hightower. He was an opt-out last year, so he wasn't on the Patriots defense at all. And then we brought back, Kyle Van Noy. He was with Miami last year. Having him come back, that's really big. And then you add the fact that just our defensive coordinator, Mike Patricia coming back from Detroit. Don't want him as a head coach, but he's a darn good defensive coordinator for the Patriots. And so guys like that, that's what's going to make all the difference, just to name a few guys on that defensive end. Then you've got Ninkovich, he's taking that next step, So the Patriots defense, I really like what they got. The biggest question on their defense is going to be the interior stopping the run. It seems like they either stop you at the line of scrimmage or you'll gain about 7 to 12 yards on a carry. So the interior of the run is the area of position that I really need to see how that's going to unfold. But everything else, I like it on the defensive side. They're going to be much improved for sure. Let's see. Mike says, ouch, Marquise Stevenson dropped. Wonder if Hodgson makes – okay, so if he dropped, you wonder if Hodgson makes the team. There's certainly that possibility, but obviously, what transpires the rest of today, that's going to play a huge role because, a lot of these guys, they're really just going out there, really competing for spots and stuff. And then, that's just any type of injury or anything like that could really alter a lot of things. So there's a chance, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Mike says, what do I think of the Raiders overall, their roster? When it comes to the Raiders, first of all, I'll say this. I know Raider Nation has not been happy with my projection for the Raiders this upcoming season, but it's not a knock because I think that the Raiders have a nice roster. I think Derek Carr, he's going to have a good season. I love what they have at running back. Josh Jacobs, combination of him, Kendrick Drake, those two really good right there. And I feel like they have some receivers that's, going to start to take that, next leap. Henry Ruggs, the third, he's going to be the X factor on offense. If Henry Ruggs can look anything remotely close to what we saw when he was coming out of Alabama, then I feel that could be really huge right there. Meanwhile, another drop pass right there. Ball ripped out. I don't think that was a fumble, though, but that'll be an incompletion. But still, though, just to say, yeah, so the Raiders on the offense side of the ball, I like what they have. They just need to have their receivers continue to develop in the right way. Meanwhile, Chicago's going to go for this on 4th and 3, so I'll focus on that real quick. Come on, Phils, you throw it, use your legs. Will he get it? He's going to use his legs, and he's got it, and then some, and he gets out of bounds. Smart play, picked up the yards, got out of bounds. Good job there, and that's what the Bears love right there. That's something that Andy Dalton can't give them. When the play breaks down, to be able to avoid the rush and turn something out of nothing. But yeah, and to talk about the Raiders on the defensive side, I feel like if the Raiders defense is going to improve, they're going to need the guys that they were drafting over the last couple of years on the defensive side of the ball to take a big leap this upcoming season. Because that's really their biggest flaw on the defense side of the ball. And if the defense does not pick it up, then they could very well end up the last place team in the division. It's not because they're a bad team, because they're not a bad team. They're a team that has playoff aspirations, but so does everybody else in that division. What a pass by Justin Fields. What a pass, 16 yards completed to Thompson. Look at that. And these Bear fans, I have never seen a team down by this much that excited. But those fans, this is what they're there for. What a pass. Golly, I love this man. This man is just phenomenal out there, guys. But yeah, the Raiders, they have the roster to where they can make the playoffs, which is why I really want to see them play some games first. But at the same time, that division has so many tough teams. The Chiefs, they're going to be the top team in that division. I think the Chargers will be the second best team in that division. Now, the third and fourth spot, that's going to be between the Raiders and the Broncos for them to duke it out and determine that. And if Drew Lock goes out there and looks remotely close to what we saw last time we saw him out there, then the Broncos will definitely be that better team. Because if they can get quarterback play, then they certainly will be a team that can contend with even the Chargers for that second spot in the division. So that's what I think of the Raiders right there. But they'll have their fans in Las Vegas, and that's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see them in their new stadium, especially opening night against the Ravens. That's going to be a game that's going to really tell me a lot about the Raiders and how they're going to look this upcoming year, if they can win that game at home or not. Mike says Tyrod broke the Bills' playoff drought. You know what? That is very true. That is very true. Tyrod did do that. I almost had forgot that did happen. Meanwhile, Justin Fields using his legs again, gets out of bounds. And he's just out there making plays. And, man, I mean, when nothing else is working, the fans are loving it. We want to see him get a touchdown on this drive. We really do. He had the nice completion earlier. He's using his legs as well. And when you use your legs like that, you start to make it to where the defense has got to keep a spy. They got to watch you. And then that opens up things for your receivers and stuff to where they can start getting open a little quicker and stuff like that. So this is very good. Now at the red zone here at the goal line, let's see. Well, at the red zone, let's see if he'll be able to finish the drive here. Justin Fields, they're going to bootleg him. And he's got no choice but to just throw it in the general direction. And so incomplete. Good job getting rid of the ball on that one. And, yeah, the Bills came after him on that. Okay, so Mike says, if you start Fitzpatrick, I can't take your team seriously. Hey, Fitzpatrick, especially when he was down there in Tampa, and it was the whole him going back and forth with Jameis and stuff. But I like Fitz with the Washington football team, though. I mean, I feel like that's a good fit for him because Washington, they made the playoffs in spite of whoever they rolled out there at quarterback, honestly. I know Alex Smith won comeback player of the year, but that's more so, him being able to come back on the field. That was really impressive right there, and I was very happy to see that story there. But in terms of just, production and stuff, yeah, they made the playoffs regardless of that. So having someone like Fitz and seeing what he did in Miami, yeah, that's going to be fun to watch, I think. Let's see. Mike says, yeah, T.O. for a year maybe, but to have to come to Buffalo blew everyone's mind. Yeah, it really did at that time. And the T.O. show, but he took the jet out of Buffalo to L.A. between whistles. Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, I mean, just thinking back to that time, I mean, that's the time before he teamed up with Chad Johnson towards Chad Johnson's end of his time down there in Cincinnati. Stuff like that. But yeah, at that time, though, I believe that Buffalo had, what was that receiver? I think his first name was Steve, or he had Steve in his name. I remember that. And he was like, I think that was around the time that Buffalo had him take over at wide receiver. I know this was after guys like Eric Mose and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was trying to think of that receiver's name, but I can't think of his name right now. But I remember around that time frame for Buffalo during that time. Tough time for Buffalo fans, I understand, but you guys survived and you're being rewarded for it now. Let's see. Really quickly, it's fourth down. Justin Fields throw. Oh, he throws that one way too high. Way too high. Yeah, I mean, that's something that you do on maybe a second or third down, but it's fourth down. But, yeah, obviously there's a lot to still be learning stuff, but, yeah. If this game was a lot closer, they probably could have went for the field goal on that one. But, and in the regular season, that would have been a field goal situation if the score wasn't this one-sided. But, yeah, just the fact that he's able to drive and make something happen, this is a great learning experience for Justin Fields, and we're still seeing a lot of positive stuff. But let's see. Mike says, for college, are you able to point out which players are heading to draft good? Let's see, when it comes to college football and the players, a lot of the guys that I obviously was watching last year, a lot of those guys ended up getting drafted. I can more so tell you about the Buckeyes, like Chris Olave for Ohio State at wide receiver. Some of the wide receivers, Ohio State's got 2 wide receivers that's considered to be top 5 in the land. Many people say top 3, but I think the Buckeyes overall got so many, good receivers and stuff that they'll end up being at the spot where they'll just be, like they don't have an established quarterback, so they won't have the stats at the end of the year. So they might be second, third, fourth best receiver when it's all said and done. But heading into the season, there are definitely some top 5 receivers. And then I know Clemson's got the guy, I forget his name, is it like Ross or something like that? There's a couple guys out there. I know that they're very high on North Carolina quarterback. I have to see what they're talking about in terms of what he can do this upcoming season. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to when it comes to North Carolina, because last year they had a two-headed monster at the running back position. So it's a lot easier to pass the ball when everybody has to watch out for those running backs that they had last year. And then aside from that, Oklahoma, their quarterback, that's why the AP poll had Oklahoma. I think they had Oklahoma ranked number 2, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had them ranked number 2 above Clemson and Ohio State, which was a little bit surprising. But yeah, their quarterback position as well. So Oklahoma, North Carolina, those are 2 teams that you just keep your eye on right now in terms of quarterbacks for next year. But it's still really, really early. And this year, I'll be definitely streaming a lot of games, so I'll be paying more attention to a lot of these quarterbacks. That is for sure. Yeah, as a Shaq, I was right there with you. I saw him get down like that, and I was like, oh, please don't. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah, luckily that was nothing there. But yeah, I mean, it was good for him to move the ball, though. We saw some ball movement and stuff, and so hopefully next time he'll be able to finish the drive. You see, Mike says he didn't watch the film, but he already got paid. I would have lived it up. And yeah, he's referring to Jamarcus Russell. And so, yeah, Jamarcus Russell, yeah, that ruined it for everybody to come after, to where now you're on a rookie deal. So you got to go out there and really prove it. But honestly, I mean, you're talking about guys that's fresh out of college, and a lot of times they don't have the financial, I guess you can say, teaching that they really need to in terms of what to do with all that money. Honestly, I mean, because there's going to be a lot of people that come up to you and they want to, like hang out with you, kick it with you and stuff like that. And so you got to be able to have that money and be able to make smart decisions with that money. Everything from who you trust with your money. You guys remember the Dwight Freeney situation where, the bank, and like a guy from the bank that he trusted with his money and all like that ended up robbing him of a lot of money. Situations like that do happen. So definitely having, time to be in the league, on a rookie deal and getting used to spending that, having that type of money, so you don't just spend it all and end up being broke later on, or, something crazy to where you owe money somehow. And crazy stuff like that, they do happen all the time. But yeah, definitely got to keep these guys motivated. And that really goes to determining as well, when you see guys that are only motivated, by money, and then when they get the money, they lose that edge, lose that motivation. Meanwhile, Jake Fromm, he's going to use some of his legs there. And he gets down. Okay. But yeah, hey, give me $82 million, because yeah, he had an $82 million contract. And by the way, the Holden's going to bring that one back. But yeah, he had an $82 million contract, and I believe of the $82 million, $60 million was guaranteed. I believe, just going off the top of my head here, not pulling up any stats on that, and just off the top of my head, I believe that's the contract that Jamarcus Russell had when he was drafted as a rookie. And so that's a lot of guaranteed money. That's a lot of money in general. I mean, they paid him like he was already on a Peyton Manning level. And that's coming in as a rookie. So that's a lot of money. I mean, back then when you drafted a quarterback early, you really were investing a lot in a guy. Let's see. All right, so Cardell drafted by the Bills. So he was drafted by the Bills. Okay. He would have been sufficient backup. Yeah. Jake Fromm's in the backfield. Was he able to get out? I think he got out of the end zone for progress. But that was close. That was almost a safety, and that's what the Bears need. Honestly, they need a safety. Wasn't able to get that. But let's see if they can get a blocked punt. But either way, as long as the punt returner doesn't try to do too much with it, the Bears should have really good field position. Yeah, Fromm definitely was holding that ball. Probably a little too long on that one, but good job for him just to avoid taking a safety on that one. But yeah, Cardell Jones, yeah, I called him Cardell Rolling Stone Jones, because the way that he scrambled, it was just it looked like a bowling ball. Like he'd be in a shotgun and then he'll drop back a couple steps and just run straight forward, right between the center and guard, and just keep moving like a bowling ball when he chose to scramble. But yeah, when he won that championship down there, coming in, knowing that you was the backup quarterback, and then to be able to do what he did for the Buckeyes, that was really huge, especially in that game against Wisconsin leading up to the college football playoff, which was the first year that it was implemented into the actual season. Well, first into college football at that time. So I remember Ohio State was one of the teams that was being considered. Baylor was another team, TCU. And at that time, I believe JT Barrett had just gotten hurt. And prior to that, I think this was the same year that Braxton Miller was already, I think he was already hurt earlier that same season. And so he was the third string quarterback. But then when this number was called, he went out there and he balled out there for Ohio State. So was really happy about that. Meanwhile, Justin Fields uses his legs again. I mean, he is definitely going to make Buffalo have to respect the fact that he is scrambling the way that he's scrambling. And I like the fact that he is sliding, not taking hits out there. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him be a sufficient backup in the NFL, because that's really what his potential would have been, honestly, just being a backup. Let's see. Mike says if the Bears, if he's the Bears, he's keeping Fields healthy though. Yeah, you definitely want to keep him healthy, especially we're talking preseason here, and they have to really balance getting him experience and also keeping him healthy. Meanwhile, that looks like a gain of about 4 yards. Let's see. Mike says, take it to the next level. Giants slightly better. Let's see. Okay, so it's Giants slightly better. Washington quarterback. Washington who quarterback? Eagles, yikes. Cowboys are a roster mess, but probably best. Please rank. Okay, so you're gonna put me on the spot here with that division there. Known as the NFC least division. All right, so I'll go ahead and take a dab at this one. So the Giants, I'll start evaluating with them. Daniel Jones, I still have questions when it comes to Daniel Jones. I think that he can be a startable quarterback, but when you have him, will you still be able to reach the same heights that they had when they had a guy like an Eli Manning? That's my question. I don't think that he brings that element for them. Now, they did bring in a lot of wide receivers, and they got some electric guys. I like the addition of drafting a guy like Tooney. I really like Tooney coming out of Florida. I know Jacksonville wished that they had him. Urban Meyer did state that. But not only that, I mean, Kenny Golladay, all of those guys. So I like their receiver position. Saquon Barkley, I need to see what Saquon Barkley is going to look like. Plenty of times we've seen running backs get hurt, and then, something like that, and then they come back, and then they're not the same or something like that. And so even so, when the Giants have so many guys, I mean, now they won't be able to stack, 8 man on the box because the Giants got too many receivers and stuff. But yeah, I need to see how this team's going to look overall to really have an assessment of that. I like the additions that they made on the defensive side of the ball, secondary, guys like that, Dory Jackson, got some high hopes for him down there in the secondary. They're going to be a competitive team in that division. Washington, I know you don't like Fitz magic back there in the pocket. I like Fitz down there in that offense for the Washington football team. I think that is the perfect place that he went to for him, because Washington, they don't need much from the quarterback position, but with him, they're getting a guy who's just a baller. That's what he is. He's just a baller. He goes out there. He's one of the guys. He's having fun. He's different. The way his post game is different. Pre-game, the way he dresses and stuff is different. The beard is different. He's just a different breed, but hey, he's fun to watch out there at times. The Eagles, yeah, the Eagles, it's very hard to talk good about them after what we saw in that last preseason there. But obviously, they didn't have Jalen Hurts out there. Devontae Smith, I can't wait to see him in the regular season. But being healthy is going to be really big for these Eagles this upcoming year and stuff. And then the Cowboys, you want to talk about injuries and stuff. Yeah, Dak, he's got to be healthy, all that stuff. The defensive side of the ball is going to be the question mark for that team. But yeah, let's go ahead and start ranking some of these teams. All right, so for me, there's 2 teams at the top of this division in terms of my clear favorites heading into the season, barring any injuries and stuff. And that's the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like those 2, when it's all said and done, are going to be the 2 that compete for a championship. Not championship, for the division title. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, division title. I like how Washington as a football team matches up against some of the bigger teams out there. Like when I say bigger teams, you look at a team like maybe a Green Bay or something like that, or maybe a team like Tom Brady or even the Rams or something like that. I feel the Washington football team matches up best against them. I mean, both the Cowboys and the Washington football team, when they play the Giants, not the Giants, when they play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like the Cowboys don't really have much of a chance to win that game against the Buccaneers. But when the Washington football team plays them, if you watch my prediction on how I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers season going, or either the Washington football team, Oh, man, what a nasty hit that was for Justin Fields. My goodness, that was a nasty hit. You don't want to see that at all out there. My goodness, what a hit. Oh, man, I had to stop on that one. Oh, man. And then you have the helmet to helmet there. Wow, what a hit, guys. What a hit. Wow. You really do not want to see that at all. At all. But they say you learn a lot about a quarterback once he takes a hit like that, and you know how he responds. But you really don't want to see stuff like that happen. That is absolutely a big shot right there. Just wow, you hate to see that. Absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Washington football team, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's gonna do okay and all like that, especially if he looks like he did for Miami. Meanwhile, Chicago gets a touchdown. Touchdown Bears. And so that is good. Nice run on that play right there for a touchdown. And that's Herbert off the left guard there for 13 yards and the touchdown. But yeah, I've got the Washington football team finishing first, probably with about 11 wins. Got the Cowboys finishing second with about 10 wins. Defense is going to be their question mark. Dak Prescott, is he really healthy? Are the Cowboys holding back information from us? All that stuff. But assuming that that he's healthy and that Zeke's able to look a little closer to what we've seen in the past from Zeke as opposed to more recently. Meanwhile, Justin Fields goes for the 2-point conversion. Oh, man, he's trying to make something happen. He still has it, throws it up, and yeah, that's nothing there. But good job just being able to get that one off. The pressure is getting there. This offensive line right now I know it's the backups, but my goodness, that was a nasty hit that he took. But hey, the Bears, they were able to finish that drive off with the touchdown. But yeah, I've got Washington football team first, Cowboys second, Giants third, and I think the Giants, they're going to still be in the conversation late in the year. Like, honestly, I feel like if you ask me around week 14, week 15, you might see the Giants rise up on my thing because they certainly have the talent to do so. It's just a matter of that talent coming together this upcoming season and stuff. So they certainly are a team that's going to be in contention. But the Eagles, yeah, I think the Eagles are going to be one of the teams that's in the bottom 10 of the league this upcoming season. I know that the coaching staff, they're constantly telling, like yelling at Jalen Hurts and stuff. It seems like throughout practice, it doesn't seem like they're extremely thrilled about him and stuff. So there's a lot that they have to figure out. Guys have to be healthy at the receiver position. Who's going to really step up? Is Devontae Smith going to be able to produce anything near what we saw that he was able to do at the college level? Lots of questions. Defense, especially at the cornerback position for the Eagles, they'll be able to compete, especially within the division. But yeah, I think by week 14, week 15, we'll know by then the Eagles probably won't be in contention for the playoffs at that point. Let's see. Mike says, please, if you would, Seahawks aging out, 49ers, the D-line from Field of Dreams. Like how you said that one. The Rams with Messi, Stafford, and Cardinals with the greatest receiving corps if Fitzgerald comes back. Matter of fact, speaking of Fitzgerald, I know yesterday I was reading some articles in which it seems like right now Fitzgerald is at the point where he seems like he doesn't have that desire to really necessarily return to the game. He's not under contract or anything. So I feel like this is already him basically giving a soft, saying like, look, I'm probably not most likely going to come back is what he's telling us. But if injuries set it up to where, the Cardinals need a receiver, I think in that scenario, if it's later in the season, then, Fitz might try to line up or something like that. But pretty much, I think he's going to be, pretty much done. But I'll go ahead and talk about each of these teams before I give you my final take on that. But I'm glad we got to see the Bears score a touchdown here, and I hope we get to see them get at least 2 more touchdown drives throughout the rest of this game. But yeah, I'll start with the Seahawks. Excellent receiving core. DK Metcalf, he is something special. Tyler Lockett, he has games where he goes off. I remember watching fantasy football and seeing this man go off for 40-something points, and I was like, man, I wish I would have started him that day. But, I mean, those two are excellent receivers. Russell Wilson, we know how great he is, top 5 quarterback, unquestionably. And so whenever you have him at quarterback, you're going to be in some games. Obviously, the defense, they're going to have to step it up. But this is a very tough division. This is my best division in football, I think. The best division in football from top to bottom is this division right here, in my opinion. Especially if you're talking about, NFC from here, definitely this is it. And you've also got the 49ers. Their biggest obstacle is remaining healthy. And we know they're going to be starting off the season with Jimmy Garoppolo. And you've seen what Jimmy can do when he's healthy, and if he ends up getting banged up, then, Trey will step in and he'll do great, but I think that, even with Jimmy at quarterback, they're still going to be really good this upcoming year. And a lot of people are going to remember why this team was in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. I know a lot of people have forgotten, but the 49ers, if they can stay healthy, they still got a boatload of talent on that team. And the Rams, oh man, the Rams, they are really, really good. I was so saddened to see, Cam Akers get hurt. I had such high expectations for him. I really did. Like them Florida State running backs, they really know how to come out and ball. I had high expectations for Cam Akers this year, but he got hurt for the year. So that's going to hurt the Rams a little bit. If you guys see my prediction videos, you would see that I had the Rams, having the best record in that division, even in the NFC at that time, up until that injury. But with the injury, that has altered my opinion some on the Rams. With Cam Akers, yes, I think he was going to be that important for the offense. And then the Cardinals, I'm projecting that Kyler Murray is going to be the next quarterback of young quarterbacks to take that next big leap and have an MVP caliber of a season. I really believe that this is his year to take that leap. We saw it last year with Josh Allen. We saw it before with Lamar Jackson, with the Ravens. So I think this is going to be Kyler Murray's time to take that leap. He's certainly next in line to do that. Meanwhile, we have a 1st and 10 from Buffalo. Throws it, and it's incomplete. But yeah, so I will say I'll start at the bottom. In 4th place, matter of fact, I'll start at the top. At the top, I've got it's going to be between, obviously, the Seahawks, 49ers, Rams. I think they have potential of winning the division. But I'm going to say that this division is going to end up – it's going to be down between the 49ers and the Rams, I honestly feel, in terms of who's going to win that division. And so I'm going to give this one to – I'm still going to give it to the Rams. I'm still going to give this one to the Rams. I think that they will. They've got a tremendous defense and stuff, and so Stafford's going to be great for them. So I've got the Rams finishing first, but barely finishing first. So they're like 1A. 1B, I've got the 49ers coming in second here. And so, the 49ers think they're going to be second. And then you look at a team like the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I think that they're going to be competing to see who finishes third. I think all teams in this division is going to be above 500, but I feel the Cardinals are going to have that MVP of a season that's going to sneak them in just slightly above the Seahawks. Now, do I think the Seahawks are still a playoff team? Yes. I think one of the 3 teams that I mentioned ahead of them probably won't be ahead of them when the season starts. But this is a very good division that, very well could send 2, possibly even 3 teams into the playoffs. They're just that talented. And what an interception. And he can still go. Will he take it to the house? Oh, look at him. He's stiff-arming people. But it's not going to matter. But still, what an interception on that play. And, yeah, something for those Bear fans who've remained in this game, something positive. So, yeah, that's how I see it as of right now. But I'm constantly changing my, picks because I do feel when you have a quarterback like, Russell Wilson for the Seahawks, that does, put you in that playoffs and stuff. But I really like the rosters for these other teams. The Cardinals, I mentioned Kyler Murray. They brought in J.J. Watt, the combination of him, Chandler Jones. I think that's going to be a nice one. And, yes, I understand J.J. Watt isn't the same player he was in his peak, but still, he's still great, and that's good enough right there for the Cardinals. And then, you got Zavon Collins and stuff, Isaiah. I forget his last name, but, yeah, they've got some pieces there on this Cardinals team. And so I'm excited to see how this is going to all come together. We know they brought in A.J. Green at the receiving core and stuff. So if AJ Green can remain healthy, look out. But all of these teams could very well finish within 2-3 games of each other. I'm talking about from like best team to worst team, a difference of 2-3 games. And all of these teams should have playoff expectations without doubt. So that's how I feel about that. And we're going to get to see Justin Fields again, this time great field position. So let's see if he can cap it off with a touchdown here. Let's see, Stevenson's turbo boosters fan him down. Yes. Ooh. Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver. I had such high expectations when the Bills took him out of Houston. I remember leading up to it. I mean, he plays with such passion and stuff, or at least, from what I saw, even at the college level. Is Ed a bust? I don't think he's a bust. I mean, sometimes we say like sometimes a guy can be a person that we draft in the first round, and we all know if you draft them in the first round, we expect you to be a star, but he doesn't have to be. I don't say that not a bust. He can go out there and be a good player. That's something that he can be. He doesn't have to become a superstar. You prefer that your first round picks become a superstar, but I wouldn't say a bust. I wouldn't say it. I'm not ready to write him off just yet. Let's see. Mike says the Bills spent first on Shaq Lawson. He was bad, but maybe still in the league. That's why they did end up making a trade with Miami. I forgot who they. Well, it wasn't Miami. It was I think Houston. They had made a trade with Houston, I think, and so they ended up swapping them out. I forget who they swapped them for, but I know there was a trade involving Shaq Lawson that I had covered months ago. But this was like months ago, early in the free agency period. So I know that there was a trade there, but he should still be in the league. I don't think he's been cut. Let's see. Can you review on Pat's secondary, please? Who will Bills have to look out for? Yeah, so in terms of the Patriots secondary, obviously it all starts with Stephon Gilmore, but you Bills already know about Stephon Gilmore and what he presents out there. J.C. Jackson, that's the guy you really want to make sure that you pay attention to because he's the guy that gets interceptions because Gilmore, he's more lock you down, get those pass deflections. But J.C. Jackson, he's the guy that goes out there and gets turnovers for this Patriots defense. Obviously, Devin McCourty from the safety position. He's been in that Patriots secondary for quite some time. He's one of the leaders of this defense and leaders in the locker room. And so they really listen to his voice. I know Jason McCourty is no longer with the Patriots. He went, I believe that he ended up signing with, was it the Giants? I think it was the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. If not the Giants, then Miami, one of the two. But I do know that Devin McCourty, he is spectacular in that secondary for the Patriots. And then, in addition to that, I know that we signed, I forget his name from the Eagles, but we did sign a guy who's going to be like that extra safety. Plus, we still got Adrian Phillips, who's a tackling machine in the secondary. And that was one of the benefits to last year when we had, Patrick Chung, who ended up retiring, but he sat out last year. He opted out last year, I should say. And so we were able to see what, Adrian Wilson had, well, Adrian Phillip, what he has. And so he's been a spectacular tackler, over 100 tackles, I think, last season. So you also got to account for him as well in that secondary. So those are some of the guys, but really look out for the cornerback position for the Patriots, as that is a position of strength. And both of those guys are playing for contracts. Meanwhile, Justin Fields with a nice pass on the play. Nice pass. And so what an excellent pass. He is throwing some nice passes in this one. But, man, you can see, like the Bears are going to have to really work on getting him some time. I mean, if that's why you end up not I guess you can say, if that's why you end up not really necessarily starting Justin Fields week one because the offensive line needs some work, and I certainly understand that because I would hate for this man to go out there and constantly take hits or have to try to do too much. So that's a big ask. Obviously, the Bears really need to focus on that offensive line like a lot. A lot needs to get right out there before we put Justin Fields out there with the starting unit in the regular season. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no problem about that at all. Yeah, J.C. Jackson is the second best cornerback for the Patriots, but he's an interception machine. He was one of the top defenders in terms of just creating like interceptions this past season. Yeah, he had a lot of interceptions this past season, led the Patriots, I believe, in interceptions. And so he is definitely the guy to look out for at that second cornerback spot, J.C. Jackson. I absolutely love J.C. Jackson, especially as a number two cornerback. I feel like he's arguably, one of the best, if not the best, number two cornerback in the league. I would certainly make a case for him. I would vouch for him. Let's see. Mike says, well, Bills struggle to run, so that would be a very interesting matchup, Bills versus Patriots. I'm telling you, it really is going to be. Now, I understand people look at it, and the biggest glaring difference between the two is the difference of obviously Josh Allen, and everything. He's a superstar in this league. And then you've got Cam Newton, who's, just trying to remain in the league right now and trying to hold off Mac Jones. And so I certainly understand why a lot of people are saying that, that they think that it's going to be a complete sweep when the Bills play the Patriots. But I think the Patriots, they have the potential to win one game. I know last year when they played against the Bills, they almost won one game, except Cam Newton fumbled the ball on that drive and stuff like that. The second time, Bills, they just whooped the Patriots behind that game. Like I will say that as a Patriots fan, like that was tough to watch. I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to answer my phone after that game. Like I was done with that one. Just was done with that one. But yeah, so and you're right about that, because that's the biggest way to really get after the Patriots defense is to run the ball, particularly on that inside against that interior of the defensive line. That's why I'm really hoping that Christian Bazemore will be the answer for the Patriots in the regular season. But yeah, the Bills in the past, that's going to be a great matchup. And it's going to be fun throughout the entire season, especially as I'm doing my predictions throughout the seasons and stuff before the games. And then just, seeing how my predictions stack up, and then seeing how the Bills and the Patriots are going to continue to progress throughout the season. Throw Miami in that conversation as well. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing the AFC East this upcoming season. Mac Jones. When Mac Jones fell to the Patriots, I was super excited for the Patriots. Like I was already hyped up when Justin Fields was taken by the Bears. I felt like that was a great position. I did not want the Broncos to take Justin Fields because I personally, like nothing against any Bronco fans. I love talking sports with Bronco fans, but I personally don't. I'm not too fond of the Broncos because they just they've given my Patriots quite a difficult time. And so, yeah, I definitely did not want Justin Fields to go there. More of a preference type of thing. Meanwhile, there's a flag on the play. But, yeah, Mac Jones, he is going – I love his ball placement, and his vision. And when he's looking in the pocket and stuff, he definitely can move around a lot better than, someone like a Brady, someone that we historically has had. But yet we can run the same type of offense that we ran for a Brady. Now, whether Mac Jones turns out to be something like you think of a good version of, Matt Ryan better, in his better days. I heard someone throw that Matt Ryan comparison. Regardless, I feel like in the Patriots system, he's going to blossom. I said before the draft that I felt like there was two spots that I felt that he really would excel at. One is if the Patriots took him. Two was if he somehow would have fell to the New Orleans Saints. I feel like those two would have been just the best scenario for him in terms of throughout his career, be with the right coaching staff, put him in the best position to have success when it's his turn. Meanwhile, Justin Fields makes the throw, and yeah, you got basically what you could from that. Couldn't get all 16 yards on that play, but good job making that throw. But yeah, Mac Jones, I think he's going to have a great career with the Patriots, and I'm excited for him. I think Cam Newton's going to do enough to hold him off for a while in terms of coming, to be the starting quarterback. But if I'm the Patriots, the only time I consider making the switch, unless Cam Newton just goes out there and looks terrible, is after the bye week. At the bye week, I need to evaluate where Mac Jones is. And then if Mac Jones is looking like he's ready to start, then you make that transition. But if not, then and you probably will at some point need to make that transition. So that's why I probably would, especially if the defense is playing at a high level. But obviously it's going to be Cam Newton. Once Cam Newton starts not playing good, like if he does like last year, get off to a good start, but then starts to decline, then yeah, that's not going to bode well for him. And yeah, look at Buffalo's special teams. That punt return game has been there all night long. But yeah, Mac Jones, his accuracy, ball placement, he puts the ball in a place where only his receiver can catch it most of the times, and his awareness and poise in the pocket. I mean, when you play at Alabama, that takes a lot of poise because there's a lot of pressure out there. I know you play with a lot of, like tremendous talents and stuff, but still, Nick Saban, he coaches you up. And Bill Belichick, he loves Nick Saban guys. It's very evident. He drafted back-to-back Bama guys in the first and the second round. Let's see. Mike says that likes your Raider knowledge. The game has passed Gruden by maybe. Yeah, and so, I mean, they gave Gruden a decade-long contract, guys, like 10 years for Gruden. If anybody, is there a coach in the NFL that deserves that contract? Yes, there's two coaches that immediately scream out to me that deserve that type of a contract. First one is Bill Belichick, given everything that he's done, he deserves a lifelong contract with the New England Patriots. And I know some fans, they're bitter that he didn't work things out with Tom Brady. I say you got to get past that, guys. Tom Brady, he did what's best for him. If Tom Brady really wanted to come back for the Patriots, he very well could have. You cannot tell me he couldn't have went to Robert Kraft and do that. And then you say, well, nobody wants to be at a place where they're not wanted. That is true, but I tell you what else helps a person get out. When you realize that your working environment doesn't give you the weapons that you need to go out there and succeed. And he knew that the Patriots didn't have the receivers and stuff. So he did a good job of, picking the best place, the best situation for him to go. It was clearly Tampa Bay. They had some weapons in place. That's why Jameis was able to throw for as many yards and as many touchdowns as he did there. Only problem for Jameis is that he threw a lot of interceptions, but that was more Bruce Arians, I think, than anything, because Bruce did not like checkdowns that much. Bruce wants to, he says, no risk it, no biscuit. He wants to go deep a lot. And with a young quarterback, you're going to have a lot of turnovers and stuff. So I don't think that BA did the best thing to try to help Jameis succeed. I know that Brady, when he first got there, him and BA kept going back and forth a little bit about, one, should they add Antonio Brown? But two, like some of the stuff like putting guys in motion, things like that, little stuff like that we as fans don't really too much pay attention to, but they help make life a lot easier for a quarterback if you have a lot of check down options to get the ball out quickly to avoid having to force stuff and turn the ball over. Now, Jameis being young, he just listened to the coach go out there and end up turning the ball over, and then a little bit of his maturity as well. He did have to work on that maturity as well. But, yeah. In terms of the Raiders, though, yeah, John Gruden, he messed up the team that he took over, but they still, they have some good stuff going. I feel like he's learning, and by the time he reaches the end of his 10-year contract, I think that's enough time for anybody to continue to improve and update. I mean, he was still young his first couple of times in the league, and he realized you can't coach guys the same way that he did down there at Tampa. In Tampa, John Gruden on the sideline, he was someone that was constantly yelling. You look back to football back then, John Gruden constantly always so energetic, always cussing everybody out, honestly, no other way to put it. Him, Bill Parcells, those kind of coaches and stuff like that, but you don't see that much these days because players, they're a little different these days than they were back then. So you have to coach them different. You got to be a lot different. The game has changed a lot. You no longer have your traditional stand back, quarterbacks that, like your Brad Johnsons of the world and stuff like that. No, you had to evolve. And so he's evolving. It's just not as quickly enough as Raider fans would like, and it doesn't help that the rest of the division is really good either. But, man, you want to talk Raiders? I miss the Raiders up until about, I think, 2004. Back when they had Rich Gannon at quarterback, they had, Jerry Rice out there at receiver when he was with the Raiders. They had, Tim Brown, even I think of a guy like Jerry Porter out there at receiver, those guys, and then Charles Woodson on defense, Rod Woodson on defense, all those guys. Those were some good Raiders. I miss those Raiders, and the Raiders obviously previously throughout history as well prior to that. So the NFL was good during those days for the Raiders. Yeah, y'all need to talk to the offensive line coach for the Bears and say you should know better than to have guys on the roster who's just going to let guys come in unblocked. I mean, this reminds me, honestly, of high school football where you see guys coming off the edge unblocked, unaccounted for. That was you can't have Fields taking hits like that. I mean, you don't want, especially over the course of like a season. I know these is obviously the backups and stuff, but still, you can't afford to get Justin Fields taking too many hits like that. It could really hurt a guy's confidence. Let's see. Mike says, so Fields might be hot. He's going to need some help. The O-line roster is yuck. Yeah, Mike, you're right about that. He's definitely going to need some help. And that's what it all comes down to. You look at the best quarterbacks in the league, they all have help. They all have help. Let's see. Okay, so the call stands. All right. But yeah, especially young quarterbacks, is so critical that you give them some help. That's how you're really going to know what you have in a guy. I mean, honestly, we've seen quarterbacks go out there, no help, and they're not able to do much, And so you need help. You really do need help because that's what makes life easier. You think of Tom Brady. Think about Tom Brady his last year in New England. Think about the game against the Tennessee Titans. Did that Tom Brady look like the same Tom Brady that we saw last season? No, the Tom Brady we saw last season looked much better than the one we saw in this last year with the Patriots. Why? It wasn't because Tom was different or regressed. Meanwhile, there's a fumble, and the Bears have the ball. Okay, so there's some life here. Unlike the Minnesota Bronco game, these Bears, they are showing some life here in the fourth quarter. See a lot of energy, a lot of pride out there. These guys, they want to perform. But yeah, Fields is certainly going to need some help. These young quarterbacks, they really need to be put in position to succeed. That's what you're supposed to do. That's a coach's job. Your job is to put guys around your young assets to help them to succeed. Justin Herbert, he succeeded last year because they put him in a good situation down there with the Chargers, where they had guys like Keenan Allen out there, Hunter Henry out there, and then great running backs and stuff. So they was in a good position to succeed. Meanwhile, Justin Fields has the ball. All right, good throw there, checking it down. Let's see. Lewis says, ouch, that was a welcome to the league hit. There you go. And I apologize, guys, if I'm way behind in terms of the comments here and stuff. But yeah, apologize about that if I'm way behind in terms of getting to your comments, but I will be getting to them. That is for sure. But yeah, there's nothing like that welcome hit. Everybody gets it. I mean, you look back to Brady's first preseason game, he took a welcome hit and stuff like that. So it really tells you a lot of what you're made of. But my goodness, Bill's got guys coming in unblocked. You can't have that happen. You just can't have that happening. Adashak says that Caleb Johnson is a beast. Yes, he is. But man, look at this. I mean, we can't have guys coming in unblocked like that. That's not good at all. Yes, he feels us looking, and there's a holding call. Yeah, that's gonna be a holding. And let's see. Mike says, I'm pushing it, but good takes. He says, rank Bills, who I insist are the best. LOL Jets, who are the worst in the league. Pats, he said misery team, and Tua not sold. Well, I'll go ahead and rank these guys because I believe I did talk about, a lot of these guys in terms of my analysis for these teams. But yeah, at the top of the division, I've got the Buffalo Bills, at the top of the division, as they should be, heading into the season. Now, obviously, as the season goes on, I reserve the right to change my mind, but on paper, the Bills should definitely be the favorites, and should be ranked number one heading into the season. They've got the best quarterback in the division. Right now, they also have, the best receiver in the division as well right now. And so you add that plus the most complete team in the division. So that honor goes to Buffalo as they probably will get about 13 wins this upcoming season, 13, 14, probably about 13. I think a lot happens throughout the course of a season, but especially with that extra game. But yeah, they'll be at the top of the division. Second, I've personally got the Patriots out there. The way I see it, if Cam goes out there and he looks decent, and when I say decent, he just got to look like he did prior to him catching COVID. I really feel that COVID really impacted this team. This team went 7-9 last year. 7-9, despite being the only team that had 8 opt-outs last season. They got to secure the ball out there. But yeah, they had 8 opt-outs last year for the Patriots, and a lot of those were starters. So you have that. You just lost your quarterback, and then you wait forever to bring Cam Newton in. Meanwhile, Justin Fields looks like he's in some pain. So hopefully that is not something there that's going to be a long-term type of thing. But yeah, he's going to be down on that. All right, so there's going to be a timeout on that play. But yeah, so I mentioned the Bills and everything that they've got going on there. Only weaknesses, running back position. You mentioned cornerback, and we'll see what the tight end position looked like. But overall, a very solid team. And then for the Patriots, as I mentioned, 7-9 last year, 8 opt-outs that, opt back then, except Patrick Chung. He retired, but we did pick up, Adrian Phillip, we did recognize him last year as he had a good season last year. So we still got him in the secondary as well. Devin McCourty, lockdown cornerbacks, they're both getting their money. They're playing for bigger contracts, and so they're going to go out there. Both, we're talking about J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, excellent 1-2 cornerback tandem. Defense is going to be way better than they were last year. A lot of people, they don't hear me when I say that. They bringing back Dante Hightower. He was so important for this defense, and to not have him last year and to have him now, that's big. Kyle Van Noy coming back from Miami. He was with the Patriots 2 years ago. He was a key piece. We've got him back. We have pieces in place on that defensive side of the ball now. And then on offense, we got better. It's like I said, we basically had plastic chairs out there at tight end last year, but we went out there and got Hunter Henry, Janu Smith for the Patriots. Those are great right there. So we're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, and we know the Patriots are really good when they have 2 tight ends. That's what we were really missing last year. Then you add Nelson Aguilar outside, try to be a bit of a deep threat. You still picked up Kendrick Bourne as well from the 49ers. He's good. So at receiver. So yeah, and then we've got a 5-headed monster in the backfield for the Patriots. We have running back for days. believe me, that may be something for the Bills to worry about, but that's not an issue for the Patriots whatsoever. We have the best running back situation in the division, and the way that we're going to run our offense with 2 tight ends, believe me, that's gonna bode well for us. Third place, I've got Miami, as you mentioned. Questions for Tua. They've got a lot of weapons down there, but I question the offensive line and I question Tua, and they don't have a running back that strikes me as someone that's going to rush for 1,200 yards or more. So, yeah, I've got the Dolphins being third. Just I got to see what Tua's going to do. And obviously the Jets, they're going to be last place. It's all about developing Zach Wilson moving forward from there, and we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, it's 1st and 20 here for the Bears. They hand the ball off, and yeah, he's got some space there. He was already down, but they got to make sure that they hold on to these balls. That's for sure. Let's see. Okay, yeah, correction. You said mystery, not mystery team. Okay, so mystery team. So yeah, I think the Patriots, they're going to show a lot of people a lot of things. I really believe that, not just because they're my team, but just really taking a hard look at them. Meanwhile, Justin Fields, talk about hard. His man is just have to do so many moves just to throw the ball out of bounds. Offensive line has got to be better than that. A lot of these guys, they're going to end up on, in free agency after you would think after this performance on that offensive line. Let's see. Isaac says really hopes that he makes our team. Hey, it would be nice. And I'll tell you what, though, a few of those backup offensive linemen, they're going to clear up a lot of those spots. I'm telling you that, because a lot of them, they probably won't be there the way that they're blocking out there. So I'll tell you that. Let's see. Mike says, I was the guy who watched the XFL. Cardell was the MVP. Bumped when it ended. Yeah, man, when it ended, that was so tough because I was really starting to get into the XFL at that time when it when it all came crashing to an end. You got the XFL, then you've got obviously the Alliance Football League as well. All those teams. We're finally getting a whole bunch more football leagues, and then it seems like things just keep happening where it just keeps coming to an end. Honestly, as the Bears here, they're going to take the field goal. That's the right decision there. I feel like we don't want to put Justin Fields in a bad situation. He was already coming in with the team being down by so much, and the offensive line's not blocking at all. So I say let's go ahead and just we want to get to the end of the game at this point. We don't want to hurt Justin Fields anymore, and he's already hurt. Let's see. Mike says, my bad, Washington has D-line from Field of Dreams. Oh, yeah, we got you. Let's see. Mike says, Fields got his work cut out with no offensive line. It ruins most quarterbacks. You're right about that. But Allen got smashed up on crazy rookie year and bounced back. Yeah, Josh Allen did have a crazy rookie year. The way that he was able to rebound throughout his career, that was great. But I know they really worked on him with his mechanics, his footwork. They really worked hard on him with that throughout the offseason, and it really paid off for him. But Josh Allen, he's just an example of why if a quarterback goes out there and he does struggle, why you continue to build around him and set him up for success. If you really believe in a guy, don't give up on him so easy unless he goes out there and looks like Mitchell Trubisky did or Jamarcus Russell. Let's see. Mike says he feels that the Cardinals need to give Murray more time with the O-line, but you I changed his mind. Okay, nice. Yeah. Kyler Murray, this is all going to depend on Kyler Murray. If he has an MVP caliber season that I think that he's fully capable of having, the stars are aligning. You've got Hopkins, and if AJ Green, I don't know what version of him they're getting, honestly, but they've already got a solid receiving core aside from that. But if AJ Green can contribute to that and just be a good number 2 guy, you have to remember AJ Green was used to going against number 1 corners. So him being against number 2 corners and stuff, not saying he's going to have 1,000 yards or anything crazy like that, but he can still be someone that if he's healthy, that's the big question. If he's healthy, he should still be able to go out there and contribute to this team. But Kyler Murray, he's going to be fun to watch. I like the running back situation. I know James Conner's there. I like the idea of having him plus Chase Edmonds. I really like Chase Edmonds. I felt like last year he was the best running back for the Cardinals. No knock on Kendrick Drake whatsoever. I feel he's in a good position with the Raiders. But, yeah, Chase Edmonds, I'm really high on him, and I think that this is someone that by the end of the year, whoever ends up drafting him in fantasy football, you're going to be happy that you did, especially if you're able to get him later in the draft as opposed to getting him too soon. You're going to be happy that you did. I feel like that's going to be someone that, as the season progresses, will continue to get better and better and better. And see, receivers got great, and instead of Seahawks got great receiving core. Yeah, they always have great receiving cores. But one thing, if you notice about the Seahawks over the last couple of years, they've been more of a streaky team. They'll either start off slow and then they'll get on a streak towards the end of the season, or like last year, they'll come out fast. I mean, Russell Wilson came out firing that ball. The Seahawks was a fierce team early on, but as the season went on, the weather got colder and stuff. So did the Seahawks offense to we reached a point later in the games, because believe me, I had the Seahawks wide receivers on my fantasy team, and they were not nearly producing the way that they were early on in the receiver and early on in the season, because teams are really trying to take them out the game and stuff. So no knock on them. It's just, that's what they account for. Let's see. And you said you're still yelling at your TV for the Bills to go up and get Metcalf. Man, it's just I could picture him right now and how he would look in the Bills uniform and stuff. That would have been golden for you guys, especially if you're still bringing on Stephon Diggs and stuff. Just imagine that as a combination. What could have been? What could have been? But instead, you got Emmanuel Sanders this year coming over from the Saints. So, but yeah. Let's see. You said, I really like Murray and this receivers, but not the rest of the roster. But you say you need to relook about the Rams and reevaluate. Yeah, when it comes to the Cardinals and stuff, the receiving position. I mean, I like their running back room. Chase Edmonds, if you watch Chase Edmonds play, he gives you the type of feelings that you got that when he came into the game, he provided the sparks. Kenyon Drake was the lead back, and he wasn't really too much getting yards. That's why towards the end, they started using Chase Edmonds more, because Chase Edmonds, he is that guy. And then you add James Conner, coming over from Pittsburgh. I know as a starter, it didn't work out there for him, but still to have him come in as a second running back. Meanwhile, Jake Fromm fumbles the ball. But these Bears, they did not dive on it. I can't believe they did not bear down on the ball. But it looks like they came away with it regardless. Okay, I have never seen a team down this much so fired up. That's how you know this team they have the winner's mindset, and they're going out there playing hard and with passion. But yeah, and definitely take a look at the Rams again, because I mean, honestly, with Cam Akers not being there, I'm highly concerned about their running back position, and that's going to be key when you're talking about later in the season, especially for a team that like the Rams that doesn't play inside of cold weather. If you're on the road and stuff, then you're really going to need to be able to run the ball. So Mike says he's got it. JC Jackson. Got it noted. So, yeah, I can see Mike now. He gets on the phone. He's like, Coach, we need to make sure that we're looking out for J.C. Jackson. He's the turnover guy. Make sure that we don't throw it in his direction. Find another alternate route. So, yeah. Of course, glad to help. And appreciate you guys for keeping this chat lively. We are pretty much 3 minutes away from the end of this ball game here, a ball game in which it'll be a win for the Bears if Justin Fields can just walk away from this healthy at this point. Like this is really just, I know he's a little banged up out there trying to play through it, show the coaching staff what he's got, because he really wants this coaching job. He really does. And so, but clearly the Bears offensive line, I know it's just the second unit here. This is the second unit, but even, with Andy Dalton and stuff, like there's a lot of things this offense still needs to work on the offensive line. But Justin Fields, he, considering the situation, I feel he had a good day, honestly. Like, considering the situation and everything, this score was not on Justin Fields by any means. I mean, if anything, this offense, we started seeing a lot more points come on the board when Justin Fields came in the game. It was what, like 34-6 or something like that when he came into the game. And so now they've already got 15 points. So, but yeah, that offensive line really needs to have some work done right now. Let's see, Fields, he throws it incomplete. And we've got 1 minute and 58 seconds remaining in this one. Yeah, so there we go. And let's see, I'll go ahead and put this up. Want to thank everybody so much. If you're still watching the stream, really appreciate you guys so much. And the best way, to support the channel grow and for you guys to be notified when I do these types of streams is that you definitely do make sure that you do subscribe to the channel here, JB&M Sports Fanatic. I'm getting closer to, I haven't been on YouTube yet for a year. that I still got a couple months until I reach that point. I started back in December, but I've definitely seen a lot of growth. And you guys have really been a big role in that growth. The interaction with you guys, feeding off each other in terms of, learning from each other. Because, I'm just like you guys. I watch, certain guys like, Ian Rappaport, guys like that, talk about sports and, just watching the games and stuff, my evaluation, my experience of watching the games. And then, also playing in high school and stuff, all kinds of stuff, So really appreciate you guys for tuning in and making this stream as lively as it is. And I cannot wait for the regular seasons to hit, whether we're talking college football, whether we're talking the NFL, whether we're talking the NBA, because believe me, I know I haven't done any of these summer leagues for basketball and stuff, but I wanted to focus more so on just football and making sure I'm still getting out the news and stuff. But once we get to the regular season in the NBA, I'll get back to those as well. And then college basketball as well. College basketball, I want to more so catch some of the tournaments that go on throughout the year. I feel like those are fun. And those are things that, I can turn on the TV, watch a whole bunch of tournaments, especially once we get to the point where conference games are playing. Going to be looking forward to that as well. So really appreciate you guys so much. And see, Mike says, man, fantastic knowledge. Glad I followed you. Glad I followed, catch you. Hey, appreciate you so much for coming through, Mike. It's been great. This is the first stream that we've had you here for. So really glad you joined it and glad that you enjoyed it. And hey, looking forward to the next one. I know that we do have another game tomorrow. I'll definitely be streaming tomorrow. It's just a matter of, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the early game or the later game, but I'll definitely set up my notification for that one as well. And I do plan on doing probably a Madden stream as well at some point tomorrow as well. So you might see two different streams, but either way, you're subscribed to the channel, so you will be notified of what's going on. So glad to have you here, and you have a great rest of your day. And so here we are with less than 2 minutes left to go. Justin Fields, and of course, even though this game is over, but it is preseason, so therefore, it's not about the score right now. It's about seeing Justin Fields able to go out there and hopefully throw a touchdown pass. I want to see him throw a touchdown pass as opposed to, just not scoring or the team kicking the field goal. It would mean a lot for his confidence if he's able to go out there and throw yet another touchdown. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure the conversations down there in Chicago, when these Bears come up, they're going to be pretty lively in terms of, Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields and why they're not giving Justin Fields an opportunity to be the number one quarterback. But yeah, that one's there. But hey, Justin Fields, the team, they love him. They know what they got in him. He was just not put in the best situation in this game to succeed. And we all saw what happened, with Andy Dalton out there. The offensive line didn't give Justin Fields the opportunity here when he did go in there to go out there and perform. So Justin Fields just got to keep working on what you can control and improving, little stuff like, being able to identify when the blitz is coming. Of course, it's up to the Bears offensive line to actually block for him. But, Justin Fields, he had a pretty solid night, especially when he was able to contribute on the ground. And so now we're going to see Jake Fromm go out there and take a knee. And so this will be a wrap for this game. This was the first one, and this was a one-sided affair in which Buffalo went out there. They took care of business early, 41-15. We saw Andy Dalton go out there. He was 11 of 17, 146 yards, one touchdown, which was a really nice reception by the receiver to snag that ball out the air over the defender. And then he also threw an interception as well. And then you look at what Mitchell Trubisky did. Mitchell Trubisky was flat out balling for Buffalo. It's not every day you get to say that Mitchell Trubisky was balling, but that's what he did today. The numbers don't lie. He was 20 of 28 for 221 yards and one touchdown. And so you look at that, and that's absolutely fantastic on his part. So was happy for him, I guess, to have that moment, as I'm sure that Mitchell Trubisky is going to be somebody that's partying after this game. And then you look at, some of the some of the big, I guess you can say, rushing yards in this game. You have Justin Fields, 4 carries, 46 yards. You have Gilliam for the Buffalo Bills, 8 carries, 24 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, Buffalo saw a lot of good things. Special teams, all of that stuff, it all just came together today for Buffalo. And as for the Bears, there's a lot of things, a lot of questions that they need to have answered. The offensive line, whether we're talking first team, second team, third team, they did not look like a team on the offensive line. So, but the Bears, they did have pride, though. They played hard. The defense, they still played hard. a lot of things. And so both teams will look forward to, making more roster cuts and getting ready to see the next final preseason games next week for these teams before we start getting ready for the regular season. But there you have it, guys. And thank you guys so much for joining the stream. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here after this game, now that this game is concluded. But I really appreciate you guys so much. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream and, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of these preseason games. I'll definitely be enjoying it and look forward to seeing you guys next time. Take care.